Hi guys, thank you for joining the live stream. Good evening. Today we will hopefully finish the entire book called Introduction to Tantra Shastra by the famous British judge of the Calcutta High Court, Sir John Woodroffe, also known as Arthur Avalon. This is a very short book. We are almost done with half of it. Yeah, see, that's how much we have already read. So hopefully we will finish it today. RSB is saying late. Hello, Dada. Hello. Yeah, 3 minutes late. Yeah, and I almost didn't do today's live stream because I was in the middle of another book which I was about to finish, but I didn't in the end because I thought, okay, I'll just freshen up my mind, gather my thoughts about this live stream, and work out a bit. So this book is only this much left. This is a very short book. This is by someone called Soren Kierkegaard. People who follow a little bit of Western philosophy and things like that, they will perhaps have heard of him. And he's not that popular. He's not that well read in even social sciences, so which makes him pretty underrated. But as for me, this book is called The Present Age. This is a compilation of 2 of his articles. Most of it is the article called Present Age, and 20 pages is of a different article. So this man passed away in 1855, but if you read it, it will feel like it's written about today. And most of all, I am absolutely blown away because it feels like almost my biography. That's how much I am liking this author and this book so far. But it's best to not conclude anything or to give your final thoughts about a book without reading it fully, because who knows what in the end what conclusions he may have drawn. Maybe he will say everything is based on Christian epistemology, so that that will be foolish of me to say that, yeah, that totally seems like my story. But so far it is not. And he has he was known for criticizing even the Christian bureaucracy and system as a whole in his time. But mostly he was not famous. He was not rated properly or overrated or rated aptly, because the people who usually rate authors or thinkers were the ones who were most basically abused and criticized by Kierkegaard himself. I'll recommend this book to anyone and everyone. This is about only 90 to 100 pages long, okay? And this is part of a resistance library of sorts from the publisher HarperCollins ka ek branch hai, Harper Perennial Library. So it's their resistance library, sort of a series. It's a series of 5 books. All five of them are similar artworks and similar short books. And I have bought all 4 of them. I've read one already long back. I was in the middle of reading it the second time. Then I thought, now why not, let's buy the rest of the books in the series as well. It's sort of a resistance to authoritarianism. But funnily enough, all these books are used by Marxists as well in their fake attempts to stand up against fake fascism. But all these authors were actually writing these as a way to stand up to or prevent or resist both fascism, Nazism, Hitlerism, Maoism, Stalinism, Marxism, everything, okay? Any big ism. Now, they didn't know that their works would be appropriated later on only by Marxists and pretended that Nazism is the only bad thing to have happened ever in the world. But they were criticizing both equally. But the later Marxists decided that, okay, Marx is only, or I'm beginning to realize that Marxists and communists are basically the pattharbazes of the intellectual world. And Jordan Peterson has kind of brought back sort of a polytheism to the social sciences. Because you see, all these authors, Eric Hoffer, the other book I'm talking about, which was a book called True Believer. It was a research into how mass movements happen, whether good or bad, because sometimes mass movements are necessary. Sometimes mass movements are absolute bullshit. But that book is an honest observation of how mass movements occur. So that book was recommended by Douglas Murray, who is in the same sort of cinematic universe as Jordan Peterson, of course. And Kierkegaard is heavily recommended by Jordan Peterson forever. And then there's Dostoevsky, who I'm also reading. So there are so many great thinkers to choose from. But these social scientists of post 1960s and 70s decided Marx is our only sole deity that we can look up to. There's no one other than Marx. And most people haven't heard of Kierkegaard in the social sciences, and even other people like Dostoevsky and all, Marxists have read them, of course, but Erich Hoffer, again, very underrated. And Nietzsche and Freud, again, a lot of these people have read for some reason. Maybe they criticized religion to that extent that they became mentally unstable nihilists themselves. But anyway, the main reason I recommend this series to everyone is because they are very short, easy to carry around when you are traveling, and read them on the fly. That's why I bought these books. And the one book I'm not going to buy in this 5-book series is because it costs about 650 rupees, but that book is just 112 pages long. I'm not going to spend that much. I'll read it someday on PDF, Internet Archives, etc. That book is by Erich Fromm. So this is fabulous, the thing that has been discussed here. I'm planning to do a members only live stream just for this book. The starting 5-6 pages will be a little too much of a bit of a tough English, but later on when you get into what common terms he uses, if you understand that, you get a grasp of that, then you'll realize that it's a very interesting book. And if you are in a place in your life like I am right now, you will feel, again, this book speaks to you, and it will criticize everyone you hate as well. Now let me check some comments, and then we'll start Principles of Tantra and hopefully finish the book today. Hello Dada. Hi, this is Satya from AP 12th standard. Your rebuttal videos help me in shaping my opinions and develop arguments on various topics. But why didn't you make any criticism of Dhruv? Because Dhruv is, anyway, people know that he's a nutjob leftist and sort, and he also doesn't make very well organized, nuanced arguments as such. He randomly claims something to be good. Ye good hai, ye bad hai. But the other people whom I have criticized, they have made a list of arguments that why one particular thing is good and why one particular thing is bad. So there is something for me to rebut. Dhruv Rathi speaks like a politician. What rebuttal are you going to give to Mamata Banerjee or Udayanidhi Stalin? They have randomly claimed something is good, something is bad. You just have to come up and say, no, that is actually bad and this is actually good. So Dhruv Rathi is too low in my opinions. Namaskar Dada, Namaskar Maximus. Jai Shri Ram, Niner, Jai Shri Ram. Late Jihad. Dada, hey, actually I'm not late, okay? Can you refresh? Your live stream hasn't probably started yet. Dada, what's your view on 70 hours work week as per Narayan Murthy? Yeah, we discussed this at length in last day's live stream. I believe such things can cause same problems as in Japan and Korea: overworking, disruption of human relationships, poor fertility rate, etc. See, my answers are not very coherent or cogent here. I'm speaking only in terms of the people I see, the commies I see around me, okay? So what I'm saying is the 70-hour work week makes absolutely sense because, first of all, it makes all three kinds of people happy. The employers who want to extract 70 hours from the employees. It makes those employees who really have the energy, who really love working 70 hours a week, it makes them happy because they get a job. And it makes those people also happy who don't want to work 70 hours and maybe want to leave the job because of such high pressures. They maybe get retained by their employers by them getting told that no, since you are such a senior employee, since instead of if we lose you, we will have to train someone else, why don't you stay in the job and we will decrease some of your pressure, or maybe take a higher raise, etc. Or they can actually quit and pursue a different career, because today in India there are plenty of other opportunities. You can become a travel vlogger, food vlogger, just eat your brains out, and even then you can make money, or become a YouTuber, anything. So if you just have some knowledge to pass on to people, you can easily make a career out of YouTube, at least. Because I see that I put so less effort. My effort on YouTube is semi-negligible. And even then I have members paying out of their hard-earned money to me. Okay, so if someone actually puts their heart and soul into YouTube, they can easily make a living out of YouTube. So why not? And as for the people whom your comment basically is concerned about, that loss of work-life balance, family life gadde mein, okay, health is fucked. I'm not taking those people much seriously, because a lot of people in India today, even if they didn't work 70 hours a week, even if they worked 30, 40 hours a week, even if they had no jobs, would spend an unhealthy lifestyle anyway. So that's where I am. Eric Fromm, yes. Eric Fromm's book I'm not going to buy because it's too costly. 600 pages for 112, 600 rupees for 112 pages. The other guy is Eric Hoffer. How are you, man? I am good. How are you? Al-Biruni writes, Kashmir and Kashi were states where no mlechas was allowed back in 11th century. He was a scholar in court of Mahmud of Ghazni, but for us, he exposes the jihadis very much, I see. And I think Odisha was, Utkala Kshetra was also pretty much like that. Which book of Eric Fromm is that? That I don't remember because I didn't, I thought I won't buy it, so I forgot the name as well. But you check it, Niner, it's called Harper Perennial Resistance Library, and then check out what's the book by Eric Fromm. You might have already read it. Do a collaboration with someone, Rajesh Nandi, JSD. Yeah, at 12 in the night. To be honest, in Korea, it's 4 days a week. Hey, it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Like more work on only 4 days and 3 days for yourself, and that's why their economy is in the dustbin. No, you're not. This is my second account. No. Yeah, I know you're a linguist. Okay. Now, introduction to Tantra Shastra. Okay, and for those who have not checked out our Shakti and Shakta live stream, also a book by Sir John Woodroffe, they will be pleasantly surprised to know that we have found out something fascinating, that Raja Ram Mohan Roy was apparently a great follower and sadhaka of the Mahanirvan Tantra. Yeah, that was the name, right? Mahanirvana Tantra path. But apparently his movement, Brahmo Samaj, got misappropriated later on by other people in the movement who just tried to make Hinduism a different version of Christianity. So the chapter we start today is called The Three Temperaments. But I think it can potentially turn out like Japan, where companies have literally taken over private life of most. The problem is if it becomes the norm. And if it becomes the norm, you quit your job and become a YouTuber. But you see, in Japan, you can't be fired. So that's the sort of a negotiation they have, that you can't fire me no matter how much I suck at my job, pretty much, and you can make me work 70 hours a week. But how are people working 70 hours a week if it's 3 to 4 days a week? Japan is pretty twisted. The three temperaments. The Tantras speak of three temperaments or dispositions or characters or bhava or classes of men, namely the Pashu bhava, animal, Veera bhava, heroic, and Divya bhava, deva-like or divine. These divisions are based on various modifications of the gunas as they manifest in man or jiva. It has been pointed out that the analogous Gnostic classification of men as material, psychic, and spiritual correspond to the three gunas of the Samkhya Darshan. In the Pashu, the Rajaguna operates chiefly on tamas, producing such dark characteristics as error or bhranti, drowsiness or tandra, and sloth, alasya. It is, however, an error to suppose that the Pashu is as such a bad man. On the contrary, a jiva of this class may prove superior to a jiva of the next. If the former, that is the Pashu, who is greatly bound by matter, lacks enlightenment, the latter may abuse the greater freedom he has won. Okay, so the person who is actually enlightened may abuse his greater freedoms. Interesting. So it's not about good or bad, these are just observations. There are also numerous kinds of Pashu, some more, some less tamasic than others. Some there are at the lowest end of the scale, which marks the first advance upon the higher forms of animal life. Others approach and gradually merge into the Veera class. The term Pashu comes from the root pash, to bind. The Pashu is in fact the man who is bound by the bonds, pasha, of which the, not pasha, pasha, of which the Kularnava Tantra enumerates 8, namely piti, daya, ignorance and delusion, moha, fear, bhaya, shame, lajja, disgust, ghrina, family, kula, custom, shila, and caste, varna. Other enumerations are given of the afflictions, which according to some are 62, but all such larger divisions are merely elaborations of the simpler enumerations. The Pashu is also the worldly man in ignorance and bondage, as opposed to the yogi and the Tattvagyani. 3 divisions of Pashu are also spoken of, namely Sakala, who are bound by the 3 pashas called Anu, which is lack of knowledge or erroneous knowledge of the self, Bheda, the division also induced by Maya of oneself into many, of the oneself into many, and karma, action and its product. These are the three impurities, mala, called anavamal, mayamal, and karmamal. Prataya kala are those bound by the first and last, and Vijnana kevala are those bound by anavamala only. He who frees himself of the remaining impurity of Anu becomes Shiva himself. He who frees himself of the remaining impurity. The Devi bears the Pasha and is the. Okay, so this is why Shiva is also known as Pasha Vimochak. The Devi bears the Pasha, so that's where Pashu comes from. The Devi bears the Pasha and is the cause of them, but she too is Pashupasa Vimochini. Okay, this is just what I said about Shiva. But Devi is also Pashupasa Vimochini, liberatrix of the Pashu from his bondage, exactly. What has been stated gives the root notion of the term Pashu. This is fascinating. Men of this class are also described in Tantra by exterior traits which are manifestations of the interior disposition. So the Kubjika Tantra says, quote, those who belong to Pashu Bhava are simply Pashus. A Pashu does not touch a yantra nor make japa of mantra at night. He entertains doubt about sacrifices and Tantra, regards a mantra as being merely letters only. He lacks faith in the Guru and thinks that the image is but a block of stone. He distinguishes one deva from another and worships without flesh and fish. Look at this. So who is being termed a Pashu? All these things which we just mentioned, but the last sentence is extra interesting. He distinguishes one deva from another. So basically you are not supposed to distinguish one deva from another. And also he worships without flesh and fish. How can he do this? So worshipping without flesh and fish is being described as a criticism here. He is always bathing owing to his ignorance and talks ill of others. Such an one is called Pashu, and he is the worst kind of man. Similarly, the Nitya Tantra describes the Pashu as, quote, he who does not worship at night, nor in the evening, nor in the latter part of the day, who avoids sexual intercourse except on the 5th day after the appearance of the courses, who does not eat meat, etc., even on the 5 auspicious days. End quote. In short, those who, following Vedachara, Vaishnavachara, and Shaivachara, are bound by the Vedic rules which govern all Pashus. This is pretty strange and pretty surprising. Okay. Appearance of the courses means Ritukulam, that he who avoids sexual intercourse except on the 5th day after the appearance of the courses, that is Ritukalam Vina Devi Vamanyam Parivarjayet. Okay, let me check the footnotes then. Not recognizing that all are but plural manifestations of the one, therefore you should not distinguish between different gods and idols. Then the second footnote is that talks of he's always bathing owing to his ignorance. That one basically means that is he only thinks of external and ceremonial purity, not of internal purity of mind, etc. Nice. Talks ill of others, that is decrying as sectarian minded Vaishnavas do all other forms of worship than their own, a common fault of the Pashu the world over. In fact, the Pichila Tantra says that the Vaishnava must worship Parameshwara like a Pashu. Okay. This is a huge criticism of Vaishnava sects. Okay, next footnote is for the term statement that such as one is called Pashu and he is the worst kind of man. All the tantras describe the Pashu as the lowest form of the 3 temperaments. Nitya Tantra and chapter 10 of Pichila Tantra, where Pashu Bhava is described. This is where it's mentioned. Okay, then yeah. So except that those who avoid sexual intercourse except on the 5th day after the appearance of the courses, taking their usual duration to be 4 days. This is a Vedic injunction, as to which see appendix. The Veera and Divya are not so bound to Maithuna on the 5th day only. This is as to Maithuna as a part of Virachara. Wow. In the case of Veera Bhava, Rajas more largely works on Sattva, yet also largely works independently towards the production of acts in which sorrow inheres, though in lessening degrees until the highest stage of Divya Bhava is reached. There are several classes of Vira. The third or highest class of man is he of the Divya Bhava, of which again there are several degrees, some but a stage in advance of the highest form of Vira Bhava, others completely realizing the Deva nature, in which Rajas operates on Sattva Guna to the confirmed preponderance of the latter. That is the Sattva Guna. The Nitya Tantra says that of the Bhava, the Divya is the best, the Vira is the next best, and the Pashu the lowest, and that Devata Bhava must be awakened through Vira Bhava. Dekho. Hinduism teaches non-violence. Devata Bhava must be awakened through Vira Bhava. The Pichila Tantra says that the only difference between the Vira and Divya men is that the former are very uddhata, which is probably meant excitable, through the greater prevalence of the independent working of the Rajaguna in them than in the calmer sattvic temperament. It is obvious that such statements must not be read with legal accuracy. There may be in fact a considerable difference between a low type of Vira and the highest type of Divya. Wow, beautifully. Yeah. The nuance is very well mentioned here and very important to be mentioned here, that these terms by themselves does not immediately mean, which is he's making this point the second time now, that these does not immediately mean a good person versus a bad person. Okay, there may be a low type of Vira who is a low type of Vira and the highest type of Divya. There might be a considerable amount of difference, and a low type of Divya might actually be better than a high type of Vira maybe. Though it seems to be true that this quality of Uddhata which is referred to is the cause of such differences, whether great or small. Okay, so the Uddhata is the one. Now in Bengali, Uddhata means just arrogance. Okay, although Sir John Woodroffe was fluent in Bengali by the time he wrote these books, I wonder if he deliberately mentions Uddhata as excitable and not arrogance as mentioned in Bengali. And these terms usually come from Bengali tantric books, so who knows. Linguist, what's your opinion here? Should Uddhata mean arrogant? Let me check some comments once. Joy Bangla Shavai Hiran. His grandfather was Brahmin, bro. Whose? Because OSC looks like Squidward classes. OSC was the full form. Lol. You're trying to find logic in the things I say. Nah. Okay, hilarious conversation going on. Uddhav is arrogant. In Hindi, interesting. Okay, in Bengali, Uddhata is also arrogant. The Kubjika Tantra describes the... Okay, let me turn the chat to live chat and not top chat. Otherwise, I get all misled. Okay. The Kubjika Tantra describes the marks of the Divya as, quote, he who daily does ablutions, Sandhya, and wearing clean cloth, the Tripundara mark in ashes or red sandal, and ornaments of Rudraksha beads, performs Japa and Archana. He gives charity daily also. His faith is strong in Veda, Shastra, Guru and Deva. He worships the Pitri and Deva, performs all the daily rites. He has a great knowledge of mantra. He avoids all food except that which his Guru offers him, and all cruelty and other bad actions regarding both friend and foe as one and the same. He himself forever speaks the truth and avoids the company of those who decry the Devta, those who criticize the Devta. He worships thrice daily and meditates upon his Guru daily, and as a Bhairava worships Parameshwari with Divya Bhava. All Devas he regards as beneficial. He bows down at the feet of women regarding them as his Guru. Strinam Padatalam Drishtava Guruvad Bhavayat Sada. He worships the Devi at night and makes japa at night with his mouth full of pan, and makes obeisance to the Kula Vriksha, an esoteric term as to which see Tantra Bidhana. Similarly, Nitya Tantra, he does obeisance to the Kulastri, who is versed in Tantra and Mantra, whether she has been brought by a Duti, is Pumshchali or Veshya, and whether youthful or old, no matter what. That Kulastri is supposed to be worshipped at night, and also Kula Vriksha I guess it means a family tree. He offers everything to the Supreme Devi. He regards this universe as pervaded by Stri or Shakti and as Devta. Shiva is in all men, and the whole Brahmanda is pervaded by Shiva Shakti. He ever strives for the attainment and maintenance of Devata Bhava and is himself of the nature of a Devta. Here again, the Tantra only seeks to give a general picture, the details of which are not applicable to all men of the Divya Bhava class. The passage shows that it, or portions of it, refers to the ritual Divya, for some of the practices there referred to would not be performed by the Avadhata, who is above all ritual acts, though he would also share, possibly in intenser degree, would share the beliefs of Divya men of all classes, that he and all else are but manifestations of the universe pervading Supreme Shakti. According to the temperament of the sadhaka, so is the form of worship and sadhana. In fact, the specific worship and sadhana of the other classes is strictly prohibited by the Tantra to the Pashu. It is said in this Tantra and elsewhere that in the Kali Yuga, Divya and Pashu dispositions can scarcely be found. It may be thought difficult at first sight to reconcile this with other statements as to the nature of these respective classes, so far as the Pashu is concerned. The term Pashu in these and similar passages would appear to be used in a good sense as referring to a man who, though tamasic, yet performs his functions with that obedience to nature which is shown by the still more tamasic animal creation free from the disturbing influences of rajas, which, if it may be the source of good, may also be, when operating independently, the source of evil. The commentator explains the passage cited from the Tantra as meaning that the conditions and character of the Kali Yuga are not such as to be productive of Pashubhava, apparently in the sense stated, or to allow if its achara, that is Vedikachara. No one, he says, can fully perform the Vedachara, Vaishnavachara and Shaivachara rites, without which the Vedic Puranic mantra and yantra and Yagya are fruitless. No one now goes through the Brahmacharya ashrama or adopts the 50th year that's called Vanaprastha. Those whom the Veda does not control cannot expect the fruit of Vedic observances. On the contrary, men have taken to drink, associate with the low, and are fallen, as are also these men who associate with them. There can therefore be no pure Pashu. Under these circumstances, the duties prescribed by the Vedas, which are appropriate for the Pashu being incapable of performance, Shiva, for the liberation of men of the Kali Yuga, has proclaimed the Agama. Now there is no other way. The explanation thus given therefore appears to amount to this: the pure type of Pashu for whom Vedachara was designed does not exist. For others, who though Pashu are not purely so, the Tantra is the governing Shastra. This, however, does not mean that all are now competent for Virachara. It is to be noted, however, that the Pranatoshini cites a passage purporting to come from the Mahanirvana Tantra, the one which was followed by Raja Ram Mohan Roy, which is apparently in direct opposition to the foregoing, which is Divya Vira Mayo Bhava Kalau Nasti Kadachana Kevalam Pashu Bhavena Mantra Siddhir Bhavenrinam, which means in the Kali Yuga there is no Divya or Vira Bhava. It is only by the Pashu Bhava that men may obtain Mantra Siddhi. This matter of the Bhava prevalent in the Kali Yuga has been the subject of considerable discussion and difference of opinion, and is only touched upon here. Wow. This chapter ends here. Next chapter is called Guru Shishya. Okay, wait. Uddhav meaning changes on context. Lol. Okay, I was wrong. Okay, so Uddhata means arrogance, as in Bengali. What's tamasic then? Ain't it worse than rajasic? Depends on what degree of tamas and rajas. Okay. Inherently, implicitly, these words don't have one adjective sort of a meaning. I had read about this much earlier, but now I'm seeing a lot of people use rajasic and tamasic much more loosely. That is not actually the case. All these three words are insanely nuanced. In Bengali, thak. Marxism was a trend back in 50s and 80s. So was Nazism actually. Like even Binoy Kumar Sarkar or Dash, one whose paper we had discussed, where he was basically recommending world dominion for Hindus. Okay, he was actually a fascism sympathizer. At least some of his fans have later on said that no, it would be too unfair to call him a fascism sympathizer, but he at least said that this seems like a just another fun way, nice way to run things. That was before Mussolini started doing whatever mass murders he did. Forget about being prevalent. People don't even know anything about Vedachara or mantra, right? Nazism never got going. Yeah, the the trigunas are not to be used trivially. Exactly. Yemen declared war on Israel. What? क्या मारे? क्या सैंड उठा के मारेगा क्या इजराइल पे? Ever since Hitler used his pistol. Guru and Shishya. The Guru is the religious teacher and spiritual guide to whose direction Orthodox Hindus of all divisions of worshippers submit themselves. There is in reality but one Guru. The ordinary human Guru is but the manifestation on the phenomenal plane of the Adinatha Mahakala, the supreme Guru abiding in Kailasha. Adinath. Okay, for those who are not Bengali, everyone in Bengal, especially right-winger Bengalis of my channel know this, but non-Bengalis, check out a video of something called Adinath Temple, and you can check out the video made by any travel vlogger, okay? Check out the temple called Adinath Temple in Malda, okay? Check out the architecture of it. You all will find something interesting. Of course, it's not called Adinath Temple, it's called Adina Mosque. The ordinary human Guru is but the manifestation on the phenomenal plane of the Adinatha Mahakala, the supreme Guru abiding in Kailasha. He it is who enters into and speaks with the voice of the earthly Guru at the time of giving mantra. Guru is the root, mula of diksha or initiation. Diksha is the root of mantra. Mantra is the root of devta, and devta is the root of siddhi. The Mundamala Tantra, is that the right pronunciation? Yamal Mundamala. Yeah. The Mundamala Tantra says that mantra is born of Guru and Devta of mantra, so that the Guru occupies the position of a grandfather to the Ishta Devta. It is the Guru who initiates and helps, and the relationship between him and the disciple or Shishya continues until the attainment of monastic siddhi. Manu says, quote, of him who gives natural birth and of him who gives knowledge of the Veda, the giver of sacred knowledge is the more venerable father. Yes, we had read this in our discussion of the Manusmriti. Since second or divine birth, the Dvija, the situation of becoming a Dvija, that since second or divine birth ensures life to the twice born in this world and the next. The Shastra is indeed full of greatness of the Guru. The Guru is not to be thought of as a mere man. There is no difference between Guru, Mantra and Deva. Guru is father, mother and Brahman. Guru, it is said, can save from the wrath of Shiva, but none can save from the wrath of the Guru. Attached to this greatness, there is, however, responsibility, because the sins of the disciple recoil upon the Guru. 3 lines of Gurus are worshipped: heavenly, Divyanga, Siddha, Siddhanga and human, Manavanga. The Kula Gurus are 4 in number, vis-a-vis the Guru, Param Guru, Parapara Guru and Parameshti Guru, each of these being the Guru of the preceding one. I see. Each of these are the Guru of the preceding one. Okay. So Parameshti Guru is the Guru of Parapara Guru, who is the Guru of Param Guru, and Param Guru is the Guru of Just Guru. According to the Tantra, a woman with the necessary qualifications may be a Guru and give initiation. Yes, because the Sri Vigyan Bhairav Tantra I am reading is written by a woman sannyasi from Krishnanagar. No, not Krishnanagar, Chandanagar from Bengal. And give initiation. Good qualities are required in the disciple, and according to the Sara Samgraha, a Guru should examine and test the intending disciple for a year. The qualifications of a good disciple are stated to be good birth, meaning caste I guess, purity of soul, Shuddhatma, and capacity for enjoyment, combined with desire for liberation, Purushartha Parayana. Those who are lewd or kamuk, adulterous, Paradaratura, constantly addicted to sin, Sada Papakriya, ignorant, slothful, and devoid of religion should be rejected. The perfect sadhaka who is entitled to the knowledge of all shastras is he who is pure minded, whose senses are controlled, jitendriya, who is never engaged in doing good to all beings, who is ever engaged in doing good to all beings, free from false notions of dualism, Dvaita, attached to false notions of dualism, attached to the speaking of, taking shelter with, and living in the supreme unity of the Brahman. So long as Shakti is not fully communicated to the Shishya's body from that of the Guru, so long the conventional relation of Guru and Shishya exists. Okay? As long as Shakti is not fully communicated to the Shishya's body from that of the Guru, the relation between the Guru and Shishya will have to go on. A man is Shishya only so long as he is Sadhaka. When, however, Siddhi is attained, both Guru and Shishya are above this dualism. With the attainment of pure monism, naturally this relation, as all others, disappears. This chapter ends. Next chapter is called Initiation, and which is also known as Diksha. Let me check some comments. Gurur Devo Gurvo Bhavo. Gurvo Brahma, this verse, I see. Imagine if Hitler was Gujarati. Adina Mosque was a Shiv temple or Kali temple. Anyways, it was Hindu. It has Hindu inscriptions on its wall. When I pointed this out, a communist guy said that's beauty of secularism, like really. Yeah, actually the conventional story even in the region is that that temple was lying in ruins anyway. So the person who built it, some Muslim king, found those ruins lying around and built a mosque with that only. I think the same story has to happen with probably is something similar with the Prince Anwar Shah Road temple / mosque as well, which is just opposite of the Prince Anwar Shah main mosque, which is there's a small structure. Half of it is a temple, half of it is a mosque. Show them the biography of. By the way, you just violated Madhavacharya right now. Oh, why? Because I chanted something. 99% peaceful community holds the religion above everything. You shouldn't be shocked. Yes, Dvaitavad of Madhava. Oh, okay. I have seen this many times. Talk to a commie with complete calmness and never let him establish the premise of that. Exactly. And remember this previous argument because it would be curveball to appropriate time. Exactly. Rashti is in the right path, guys. Exactly. He has understood the the main rahasya, sar of debating with commies. Never accept their premises. If you accept their premises, then you'll have to defend and fumble, stutter with all sorts of bullshit arguments. Okay, always question their premises. All of their premises are horseshit. Bhojshala. Okay, I have one question. I have two questions actually. I forgot to put this in the community tab, so let me just ask it here from you guys in the live stream only. Which is, one question I have is, I've been thinking about it. I have not come to any conclusion. Which is, in Bengali, we pronounce everything that's written with the letter M in Sanskrit, which is pronounced as M in by every non-Bengali speaking, non-Bengali Sanskrit speaker. Om or okay, internet was gone. Okay, yeah. How long was internet gone? I wonder. So I was saying that in Sanskrit, any word that ends with M is pronounced as ng in Bengali. Okay, Om is pronounced as ong, Reem is pronounced as ring, those sorts of things. Kleem is pronounced as kling in Bengali. Which is right? Because everyone except Bengalis seem to pronounce them as M only. Only Bengalis pronounce it as ng, but Bengal's Sanskrit speakers and Brahmins, even non-Brahmins actually. My grandfather's father was a famous Sanskrit teacher actually in his locality. So all these people have held on to customs traditions to a large extent. They are the main reason why Bengali is so close to Sanskrit. Okay, almost every word that I read in Sanskrit is today 99% applicable in Bengali in the exact same way. So were they really wrong? What's going on here? Which is the correct pronunciation, M or NG? My second question is, if Rajarshinandi was not Brahmin, what would his fate be in terms of getting diksha and the stature? Not in terms of public acceptance. I'm saying in the systematic initiation sorts of things. Okay, and him being taught him being getting the adhikara, etc., what would be his fate? Because he is Brahmin, I guess. I have seen his Janevu, as far as I've understood, from inside his kurta, or it might be his Rudraksh mala as well. I'm not sure. But last day we read that Varna has no relevance in Tantra in some ways. But again, we just read that some good quality birth has to be also there. So I wonder what's the stature of what's the relevance of the conventional Varna system in Tantra. Was if he was not a Brahmin, but he had the same interests in Tantra and did everything that he has done, if he did all those same things as not a Brahmin, would he be allowed to basically preach these same things with the same authority? Watch the recent video by Do News on Bhojshala on how they appropriated the temple and then they say this is the beauty of Ganga Jamuna Tehzeeb. It's a confuse them with their own shit. Maybe dialect change. Yeah, that is true. Vigyan Bhairav Tantra is Shiv Vakya. Yeah. Nagari Sanskrit and Gaudi Sanskrit different because Mlecha is first. Oh, yeah, that is probably true. Okay, I'll just continue with the chapters and you all keep answering my question. I don't think Rajesh Nandi is Brahmin. There was a clarification in one of his. Oh, I see. Interesting. Okay, thanks for letting me know. Initiation. Okay, so what I saw was then not the Janu, it was his Rudraksh Mala probably. So initiation, diksha. Initiation is the giving of mantra by the Guru. At the time of initiation, the Guru must first establish the life of the Guru in his own body, that is the vital force or prana shakti of the Supreme Guru, whose abode is in the 1,000-petaled lotus. As an image of the instrument or yantra in which Devta inheres, so also is the body of Guru. The day prior thereto, the Guru should, according to Tantra, seat the intending candidate on a mat of kusha grass. He then makes japa of a shupta mantra or sleep mantra in his ear and ties his crown lock. The disciple, who should have fasted and observed sexual continence, repeats the mantra thrice, prostrates himself at the feet of the Guru, and then retires to the rest. This is called Bija mantra, I guess, also. Initiation, which follows, gives spiritual knowledge and destroys sin. As one lamp is lit at the flame of another, so the divine Shakti, consisting of mantra, is communicated from the Guru's body to that of the Shishya. Without diksha, japa of the mantra, puja and other ritual acts are said to be useless. Okay, without diksha, all the others we just mentioned are considered useless. Okay, so without diksha, japa of the mantra is useless, puja is useless, and other ritual acts are said to be useless. Interesting. Certain mantras are also said to be forbidden to Shudras and women. A note, however, in the first Chalakshara Sutra to the Lalita would, however, show that even the Shudras are not debarred from the use of the pranava, as is generally asserted. Okay, so as usual, just like everything else, we don't have a consensus on this even in Tantra. Because according to the Kalika Purana, when dealing with svara or tone, whilst the Uddata, Anuddata, Uddata, Anuddata and Prachaya are appropriate to the first of these castes, the svara called Aukara with Anushvara and Nada is appropriate to Shudra, who may use the pranava either at the beginning or end of mantra, but not as the Dvija may at both places. That's just the difference. Cool. The mantra chosen for initiation should be suitable, anukul, exact Bengali word as we use this word even today. The mantra chosen for initiation should be suitable or anukula. Whether a mantra is svakula or akula to the person without about to be initiated is ascertained by the Kula Chakra, the zodiacal circle called Rashi Chakra, and other chakra which may be found described in the Tantra Sara. Initiation by a woman is efficacious, that by a mother is eightfold so. Certain special forms of initiation called Abisheka are described in the next note. Okay, this chapter ends here. Next chapter is called Abhisheka. But let me have some coffee now. Okay, let me check some comments. Interesting comments have come. Like yesterday also, I was looking at a Bhairav temple in Kolkata. That's not a Kal Bhairav temple, I think. Uh, they call it Nakuleshwar Bhairav temple. It's a very pretty intense looking temple, especially the insides. I was looking at a travel vlogger's video of it. So there, someone was saying something. I heard the word prachanda, and it came to my mind that even something as a very obvious Sanskrit word called like prachanda, we use it in Bengali every day, but we use it in a slightly different way, which we have mixed up with the adjective called very. Okay, so khub, which is basically an Arabic word, I guess. So we use khub to say very. Okay, so if something is good, which is bhalo in Bengali, if it's a little better than just good, then we will call it khub bhalo. But if it is very good, very very good, then we call it prochando bhalo. So prachanda, which is usually supposed to mean fierce, intense, or even violent and aggressive, is used as very very. But interestingly, in the last 10-15 years, bhayankar, of course, Bhayankara, anyone who knows a bit of Sanskrit will understand that it's very vicious and again ferocious, terrible, etc. Bhayankar, Bibhatsho, Bivats, and Bhayankara, all these are also today in Bengali colloquially used as some degree of very, 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 very. Okay, so Bhayankar Sundor, Bibhatsho Bhalo. Okay, these words are used today, but interestingly, we are continuing the same tradition of using the terms for fierce and intense as very very. Okay, so we are using them actually as perfectly as they were intended in Sanskrit. They were misappropriate in the in prior years, like 50-100 years back from today, when they were beginning to be used only as violent, aggressive, ugra. They were not supposed to be that. They are just intense and fierce. Intense and fierce does not automatically mean violent and aggressive. Okay, it means very very basically. Okay, let me now check the comments. Bharatiya Sabhyat. Okay, let's see what Nina was saying. Even a lot of Brahmins don't wear janu for some reason. I've seen some Rajputs wear it though. Our culture is totally mixed up. Yeah, no consensus on anything. 99% leftist community committed to Islamism more than anything. Yes. Rajputs are Kshatriyas, so yeah, janu can be worn. But why are Brahmins not wearing it? Maybe they are Komi Brahmins. Because in Bengal, Komi Brahmins have a tradition of burning or tying shoelaces with their janus after their Upanana Samskara is done. Bharatiya Sabhyata, yes, and interestingly, all of them may not be made off of sutras, like some Aghori Sampradayas and Kapalikas use human hair janus, right? I really don't think prohibition on the basis of Varna is applicable in today's society. Are you coming to my marriage or what? When are you getting married? Yeah, invite all of our viewers. I text you on Insta regarding that later. My ancestors were Mohials, traditionally never wore janus, at least 400-500 years of history. We were doing mostly Kshatriya karma, but somehow still classified Brahmin. I see. Okay. It could be possible who we gave up job of Brahmins before 500 years ago, though, and joined warriors, right? Of course, and okay. By the way, I was debating against same Aryan civilized Indians. He was arguing, but I argued him as per same Aryans in Purans in 16th century BC. It was Nandas and Mauryas ruling at the time, so why forgetful? Then he was shocked as hell. If there is a peaceful coup of West Bengal to declare it at a peaceful state and center deploys army, the global left would support the peaceful and say India occupies West Bengal. Yes, it would. Now, Abhisheka. Abhisheka is of 8 kinds, and the forms of Abhisheka which follow the first at later stages mark greater and greater degrees of initiation. Okay, so the first Shaktabhisheka is given on entrance into the path of sadhana. It is so called because the Guru then reveals to the Shishya the preliminary mysteries of Shakti Tattva. By it, the Shishya is cleansed of all sinful or evil Shakti or proclivities evil Shakti or evil proclivities, and acquires a wonderful new Shakti. The next, Purnabhisheka, is given in the stage beyond Dakshinachara, when the disciple has qualified himself by Purashcharana and other practices to receive it. Here, the real work of sadhana begins. Asana, yama, etc. strengthen the disciple's determination or pratigya to persevere along the higher stages of sadhana. The third is the difficult stage commenced by krama diksha bhisheka, in which it is said the great Vasishtha became involved, and in which the Rishi Vishwamitra acquired Brahma Jnana and so became a Brahmana. The sacred thread is now worn round the neck like a garland. The Shishya, then undergoing various ordeals or pariksha, receives Samragya Bhisheka or Samrajya Bhisheka and Mahasamrajya Bhisheka, and at length arrives at the most difficult of all stages introduced by Yoga Diksha Bhisheka. In the previous stages, the sadhaka has performed the Panchanga Purashcharana, and with the assistance of his guru, with whom he must constantly reside and whose instructions he must receive direct, he does the Panchanga Yoga, that is, the last 5 limbs of the Ashtanga. He is thereafter qualified for Purna Diksha Bhisheka, sometimes called Viraja Grahana Bhisheka. On the attainment of perfection in this last grade, the sadhaka performs his own funeral rites or shraddha, makes Purnahuti with his sacred thread and crown lock, basically meaning the what I don't know what it's called in Hindi. In Bengali we call it tiki. I think that's what they're talking about, when you are bald in the entire head and you just have a little lock of hair. I guess that's what's meant by crown lock. The relation of Guru and Shishya now ceases. From this point he ascends by himself until he realizes the great saying, Soham, I am he. At this stage, which the Tantra calls Jivan Mukta, he is called Paramhamsa. Jivan Mukta meaning liberated whilst yet living. Next chapter is called Sadhana. Vibhatsya means disgusting probably, and is one of the 9 ras of Natya Shastra. Yeah, that was actually Vibhatsya ras. Was it disgusting? Or again intense and fierce? It probably might mean disgusting only. All this points to the fact that we have seriously screwed up when we equate caste jatis with varna. Yeah. But yeah, I'm still reminded of the point that with gigantic Islamic invasions and even Bengalis happily accepting missionary education, so much of Bengali has been left untouched. So much of Bengali still remains so close to Sanskrit. I wonder how that is. Who deserves the credit for that? I guess in collectively the entire Bengali society deserves credit for that, but it's pretty strange. Yeah, in some sampradayas in past even women wore janus. Yeah, I've heard that. Like we have scriptures, but that's restricted to that particular sampradaya, right? It's complicated. Within a sentence, without sandhi, pronounce ng, else pronounce m. I see. Okay, sadhana. Sadhana is that which produces siddhi. It is the means or practice by which the desired end may be attained, and consists in the exercise and training of the body and psychic features, upon the gradual perfection of which siddhi follows, the nature and degree of which again depends upon the progress made towards the realization of the Atma, whose veiling vesture the body is. The means employed are various, such as worship, puja, exterior or mental, shastric learning, austerities or tapas, the Panchatattva mantra, and so forth. Sadhana takes on a special character according to the end sought. Okay, whatever end goal you are looking, the sadhana will depend on that. Thus, sadhana for Brahma Jnana, which consists in the acquisition of internal control or sama over buddhi, manas and ahamkara, external control or dhamma over the 10 indriyas, which is discrimination between the transitory and the eternal, and renunciation of both of the world and heaven or swarga. That is obviously different from that prescribed for, say, the purpose of the lower magic. The sadhaka and sadhika are respectively the man and woman who perform sadhana. They are, according to their physical, mental and moral qualities, divided into 4 classes: mridu, madhya, adhimatraka, and the highest adhimatrama, who is qualified or adhikari for all forms of yoga. Mridu, again, in Bengali we use the word mridu every day. Mridu means little, okay, in low amounts, in small amounts. In a similar way, the Kala division of worshippers are divided into the Prakriti or common Kala following Virachara, addicted to ritual practice, and Sadhana with Panchatattva. The Madhyama Kaulika or middling Kala, accomplishing the same sadhana but with a mind more turned towards meditation, knowledge, and samadhi. And the highest type of Kala, Kaulikottama, who, having surpassed all ritualism, meditates upon the universal self. Now, new chapter begins. Small chapters. New chapter is called worship. I think there are evidences of woman Mathadhipatis in Veerashaiva Sampradayas, mainly in central India. I see. Next chapter is called worship. There are four different forms of worship corresponding with four states or bhava. The realization that the Jivatma and Paramatma are one, that everything is Brahman, and that nothing but the Brahman exists, is the highest state or Brahma bhava. Constant meditation by the yoga process upon the Devta in the heart is the lower and middlemost Dhyana bhava. Japa and Stava, Bengali it's called Stab and Stuti. Japa and Stava, hymns and prayer, is still lower, and the lowest of all external worship is Puja. Puja bhava is that which arises out of the dualistic notions of worshipper and worshipped, the servant and the Lord. But remember, that does not mean forget doing puja. It means that it is your beginning, first baby steps towards reaching a higher spiritual upliftment, alleviation, etc. Okay. Vigyan Bhairav Tantra, the woman who was translating it, has clarified it. This is actually what has been basically misunderstood by Brahmo Samajis, Arya Samajis, or whoever says that they are spiritual, not religious. They are saying that forget idol worship, forget puja part, etc. Bhagwan is in my head, in my heart. I'll just think of him. I will just quote a few spiritual quotes from here and there. I'll just share a few quotes from Buddhism and I'll become spiritual and I'm reaching God. It's not really happening that way. This dualism exists in greater or less degree in all states except the highest. But for him who, having realized the Advaita Tattva, knows that all is Brahman, there is neither worshipper nor worshipped, neither yoga nor puja, nor dharana, dhyana, stava, japa, vrata, or other rituals or process of dharana. In external worship, there is worship either of an image or pratima or of a yantra, which takes its place. The sadhaka should first worship inwardly the mental image of the form assumed by the Devi, and then by life-giving prana pratishtha ceremony infuse the image with her life by the communication to it of the light and energy or tejas of the Brahman, which is within him, to the image without, from which there bursts the lustre of her, whose substance is consciousness itself, Chaitanyamayi. She exists as Shakti in stone or metal or elsewhere, but is there veiled and seemingly inert. Chaitanya or consciousness is aroused by the worshipper through the prana pratishtha mantra. Rites or karma are of two kinds. Karma is either nitya or naimittika. The first is both daily and obligatory and is done because so ordained. Such are the Sandhya, which in the case of Shudras is in the tantric form, and daily puja of the Ishta and Kula Devta, and for Brahmanas the Panchamaha Yagya, which we have read in detail in the Manusmriti. The second or conditional karma is occasional and voluntary, and is so naimittika is conditional or voluntary, and occasional, and is kamya when done to gain some particular end, such as yagya for a particular object. Okay, so that is naimittika. Tapas with the same end for certain forms of tapas are also nitya and vrata. Okay, so tapas with the same end and vrata. The Shudra is precluded from the performance of Vedic rites or the reading of Vedas or the recital of Vedic mantra. His worship is practically limited to that of the Ishta Devta and the Banalinga Puja, with tantric and Pauranic mantra and such vratas as consist in penance and charity. In other cases, the vrata is performed through a Brahmana. The Tantra makes no caste distinctions as regards worship. All may read the Tantras, perform the Tantric worship, such as the Sandhya, and recite the Tantric mantra, such as the Tantric Gayatri. All castes and even the lowest Chandala may be a member of a chakra or tantric circle of worship. In the chakra, all its members partake of food and drink together and are deemed to be greater than Brahmanas, though upon the breakup of the chakra, the ordinary caste and social relations are re-established. Wow. All are competent for the special tantric worship, for in the words of the Gautamiya Tantra, the Tantra Shastra is for all castes and for all women. Okay, so the quote is given: Sarva Varnadhikarascha Narinam Yogya Evacha. The latter are also excluded under the present Vedic system, though it is said by Sankhya Dharma Shastrakara that the wife may, with the consent of her husband, fast, take vows, perform homa and vrata, etc. It has been said that neither a virgin, Kumari, or a pregnant woman, Garbhini, nor a woman during her period can perform vyata, or I guess it was supposed to be vrata. According to the Tantra, a woman may not only receive mantra but may, as a guru, initiate and give it. Rudra Yamal Khanda, where qualifications are stated. Okay. Khanda chapter 2 and Khanda chapter 14. Rudra Yamal Tantra. Okay, so chapter 2 and chapter 14 of Rudra Yamal Tantra. She is worshipful as Guru and as wife of Guru. The Devi is herself Guru of all Shastras and women, as indeed all females who are her embodiments are in a peculiar sense her earthly representatives. And this is why all Komi Bengali women think they are all representations and Amsa of Ma Durga. So this is mentioned in Kankala Malini Tantra. Now, forms of achara. There are 7, or as some say, 9 divisions of worshippers. The extra divisions are bracketed in the following quotation. The Kularnava Tantra mentions 7, which are given in their order of superiority, the first being the lowest. Vedachara, Vaishnavachara, Shaivachara, Dakshinachara, Vamachara, Siddhantachara, Aghorachara. Siddhantachara के बाद में ब्रैकेट में है अघोराचारा एंड योगाचारा, and then of course Kaulachara, the highest of all. The achara is the way, custom and practice of a particular class of sadhakas. They are not, as sometimes supposed, different sects, but stages through which the worshipper in this or other births has to pass before he reaches the supreme stage of the Kaula. Vedachara, which consists in the daily practice of the Vedic rites, is the gross body, Sthula Deha, which comprises within it all other acharas, which are, as it were, its subtle bodies, the Sukshma Deha, of various degrees. The worship is largely of an external and ritual character, the object of which is to strengthen dharma. This is the path of action, or Kriya Marga. In the second stage, the worshipper passes from blind faith to an understanding of the supreme protecting energy of the Brahman, towards which he has the feelings of devotion. This is the path of devotion, Bhakti Marga, and aim at this stage is the union of it and faith previously acquired. With an increasing determination to protect dharma and destroy adharma, the sadhaka passes into Shaivachara, the warrior stage, Kshatriya stage, wherein to love and mercy are added strenuous striving, okay, and the cultivation of power. Okay, तो love and mercy पहले से ही था, उसके साथ क्या ऐड हुआ? Strenuous striving and cultivation of power. There is union of faith, devotion, bhakti, and inward determination, antarlaksha. Entrance is made upon the path of knowledge, jnana marga. Following this is dakshinachara, which in tantra does not mean right hand worship but favorable. That is, that achara which is favorable to the accomplishment of the higher sadhana, and whereof the Devi is the Dakshina Kalika. This stage commences when the worshipper can make dhyana and dharana of the threefold Shakti of the Brahman, Kriya, Ichha and Jnana, and understands the mutual connection or samanvay of the three gunas until he receives Purnabhisheka. At this stage, the sadhaka is Shakta and qualified for the member worship of the threefold Shakti of Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. He is fully initiated in the Gayatri mantra and worships the Devi Gayatri, the Dakshina Kalika or Adya Shakti, the union of the three Shaktis. This is the stage of individualistic Brahmanatva. and its aim is the union of faith, devotion, and determination with a knowledge of the threefold energies. After this, a change of great importance occurs, marking as it does the entry upon the path of return or nivritti. This it is which has led some to divide the achara into two broad divisions of dakshinachara, including the first four, and vamachara, including the last three. It being said that men are born into dakshinachara but are received by initiation into vamachara. The latter term does not mean, as is vulgarly supposed, left hand worship, but it actually means worship in which woman or vama enters, that is, lata sadhana. In this achara, there is also worship of the Vama Devi. Vama is here adverse, in that meaning that the stage is adverse to pravritti, which governed in varying degrees the preceding achara, and entry is here made upon the path of nivritti, or return to the source whence the world sprung. Up to the fourth stage, the sadhaka followed pravritti marga, the outgoing path which led from the source, the path of worldly enjoyment, albeit curbed by dharma. At first unconsciously and later consciously, sadhana sought to induce nivritti, which however can only fully appear after the exhaustion of the forces of the outward current, meaning pravritti, I guess. In vamachara, however, the sadhaka commences to directly destroy pravritti, right? Okay? In vamachara, however, the sadhaka commences to directly destroy pravritti, and with the help of the guru, whose help throughout is in this necessary, with the help of the guru to cultivate nivritti. The method at this stage is to use the forces of pravritti in such a way as to render them self-destructive. The passions which bind may be so employed as to act as forces whereby the particular life of which they are the strongest manifestation is raised to the universal life. Passion, which has hitherto run downwards and outwards to waste, is directed inwards and upwards and transformed into power. But it is not only the lower physical desires of eating, drinking, and sexual intercourse which must be subjugated. The sadhaka must at this stage commence to cut off all the 8 bonds or pasha, which mark the pashu, which the Kularnava Tantra enumerates as piti, daya, ignorance, moha, shame, lajja, family, kula, custom, shila, and caste, varna. See, piti and caste are considered as bonds which the pashu has. Jiska pashu pravritti hai. When Sri Krishna stole the clothes of the bathing gopis and made them approach him naked, he removed the artificial coverings which are imposed on man in the samsara. The gopis were 8, as are the bonds, pasha, and the errors by which the jiva is misled are the clothes which Sri Krishna stole. Freed of these, the jiva is liberated from all bonds arising from his desires, family, and society. He then reaches the stage of Shivatva. It is the aim of Vamachara to liberate from the bonds which bind men to the samsara, and to qualify the sadhaka for the highest grades of sadhana in which the sattvika guna predominates. To the truly sattvic, there is neither attachment nor fear nor disgust. That which has been commenced in these stages is by degrees completed in those which follow, vis-a-vis Siddhantachara and, according to some, Aghorachara and Yogachara. The sadhaka becomes more and more freed from the darkness of samsara, and is attached to nothing, hates nothing, and is ashamed of nothing, having freed himself of the artificial bonds of family, caste, and society. The sadhaka becomes like Shiva himself, a dweller in the cremation grounds, smashana. He learns to reach the upper high. Okay, remember what Rajarshi Nandi has said. When Shiva enters the cremation grounds, he becomes Bhairava. So we are not exactly talking about Shiva here. He learns to reach the upper heights of sadhana and the mysteries of yoga. He learns the movements of the different vayus in the microcosm, and Kshudra Brahmanda, the regulation of which controls the inclinations and propensities, or vritti. He learns also the truths which concern the macrocosm, Brahmanda. Here also, the Guru teaches him the inner code of Vedachara. Initiation by Yoga Diksha fully qualifies him for Yogachara. On attainment of perfection in Ashtanga Yoga, he is fit to enter the highest stage of Kaulachara. Kala dharma no wise way sectarian, but on the contrary is the heart of all sects. This is the true meaning of the phrase, which, like many another touching the Tantra, is misunderstood and used to fix the Kala with hypocrisy. Antashakta Bahishaiva Sabhayam Vaishnava Mata Nana Rupa Dhara Kala Vicharanti Mahitale. Outwardly Shaivas in gatherings, Vaishnavas at heart, Shaktas under various forms, the Kalas wander on earth. A Kala is one who has passed through these. Okay, this was an interesting sentence. Okay, I think there some commas were misprinted. Kala dharma is in no way sectarian, but on the contrary is the heart of all sects. This is the true meaning of the phrase, which, like many another touching the Tantra, is misunderstood and used to fix the Kala with hypocrisy. Antashakta Bahishaiva Sabhayam Vaishnava Mata Nana Rupadhara Kala Vicharanti Mahitale. Outwardly Shaivas in gatherings, Vaishnavas at heart. Okay, outwardly Shaivas. Okay, in gatherings, Vaishnavas. At heart, Shaktas. Under various forms, the Kalas wander on earth. Okay, so all of them are Kalas, but some are outwardly Shaivas. In gatherings, they are Vaishnavas. In their hearts, they are Shaktas. A Kala is one who has passed through these and other stages, which have as their own inmost doctrine, whether these worshippers know it or not, that of Kalachara. It is indifferent what the Kala's apparent sect may be. The form is nothing and everything. It is nothing in the sense that it has no power to narrow the Kala's own inner life. It is everything in the sense that knowledge may infuse its apparent limitations with an universal meaning. So understood, form is never a bond. The Vishwanara Tantra says of the Kala that, quote, for him there is neither rule of time nor place. His actions are unaffected either by the phases of the moon or the position of the stars. The Kala roams the earth in different forms, differing forms, at times adhering to social rules or shisha. He at other times appears according to their standard to be fallen or bhrashta. At times again he seems to be as unearthly as a ghost, Bhuta or Pishacha. To him no difference is there between mud and sandal paste, his son and an enemy, home and the cremation ground. End quote. At this stage, the sadhaka attains to Brahmagyana, which is the true gnosis in its perfect form. On receiving Mahapurna Diksha, he performs his own funeral rites and is dead to the samsara. Seated alone in some quiet place, he remains in constant samadhi and attains its nirvikalpa form. The Great Mother, the Supreme Prakriti Mahashakti, dwells in the heart of the sadhaka, which is now the cremation ground, wherein all passions have been burnt away. He becomes a Paramahamsa, who is liberated whilst yet living, Jivan Mukta. It must not, however, be supposed that each of these stages must necessarily be passed through by each jiva in a single life. On the contrary, they are ordinarily traversed in the course of a multitude of births. The weaving of the spiritual garment is recommenced where, in a previous birth, it was dropped on death. In the present life, what a beautiful way to write a sentence, okay? What a beautiful way to describe a concept. Listen to this. The weaving of the spiritual garment is recommenced. It restarts when in a previous birth it was dropped on death. In the present life, a sadhaka may commence at any stage. If he is born into Kalachara, and so is a Kala in its fullest sense, it is because in previous births he has, by sadhana, in the preliminary stages, won his entrance into it. Knowledge of Shakti is, as the Niruttara Tantra says, acquired after many births, and according to the Mahanirvana Tantra, it is by merit acquired in previous births that the mind is inclined to Kalachara. Now mantra. Shabda or sound, which is of the Brahman and as such the cause of the Brahmanda, is the manifestation of the Chit Shakti itself. The Vishwasara Tantra says that the Para Brahman, as Shabda Brahman, whose substance is all mantra, exists in the body of the Jivatma. It is either unlettered dhvani or lettered varna. The former, which produces the latter, okay, the dhvani which produces varna, is the subtle aspect of the jiva's vital shakti. As the Prapanchasara states, the Brahmanda is pervaded by Shakti, consisting of Dhvani, also called Nada, Prana, and the like. The manifestation of the gross form or Sthula of Shabda is not possible unless Shabda exists in a subtle Sukshma form. Mantras are all aspects of the Brahman and manifestations of Kula Kundalini. Okay, mantras are all aspects of the Brahman and manifestations of Kula Kundalini. Philosophically, Shabda is the guna of Akasha or ethereal space. It is not, however, produced by Akasha, but manifests in it. Manifests in Akasha. It is not, however, produced by Akasha, but manifests in Akasha. Shabda is itself the Brahman. In the same way, however, as in outer space, waves of sound are produced by movements of air or vayu. So in the space within the jiva's body, waves of sound are produced according to the movements of the vital air, prana vayu, and the process of inhalation and exhalation. Shabda first appears at the waves of sound are produced according to the movements of the vital air. In the movements of the vital air and the process of inhalation and exhalation. Shabda first appears at the Mooladhara, and that which is known to us as such, in fact, the Shakti which gives life to the Jiva. She it is who in the Mooladhara is the cause of the sweet, indistinct and murmuring Dhvani, which sounds like the humming of a black bee. The extremely subtle aspect of sound which first appears in the Mooladhara is called Para. Less subtle, when it has reached the heart, it is known as Pashyanti. When connected with Buddhi, it becomes more gross and is called Madhyama. Lastly, in its fully gross form, it issues from the mouth as Vaikhari. As Kula Kundalini, whose substance is all Varna and Dhvani, is but the manifestation of and herself the Paramatma, so the substance of all mantra is Chit, notwithstanding their external manifestation as sound, letters or words. In fact, the letters of the alphabet, which are known as akshara, are nothing but the yantra of the akshara. Okay? In fact, the letters of the alphabet which are known as akshara are nothing but the yantra of the akshara or imperishable Brahman. This, however, is only realized by the sadhaka when his Shakti generated by sadhana is united with the mantra Shakti. It is the sthula or gross form of Kula Kundalini appearing in different aspects as different devtas, which is the presiding devta or adhishthatri of all mantra, though it is the subtle or sukshma form at which all sadhakas aim. When the mantra Shakti is awakened by the sadhana, the presiding devta appears, and when perfect mantra siddhi is acquired, the devta who is Satchidananda is revealed. Sat Chit Ananda. Consciousness, bliss, I forgot. Mind, consciousness, bliss, I guess. Sat Chit Ananda. The relations of Varna, Nada, Bindu, vowel and consonant in a mantra indicate the appearance of Devta in different forms. Certain vibhutis or aspects of the Devta are inherent in certain Varnas, but perfect Shakti does not appear in any but a whole mantra. Any word or letter of the mantra cannot be a mantra. Only that mantra in which the playful Devta has revealed any of her particular aspects can reveal that aspect, and is therefore called the individual mantra of that one of her particular aspects. The form of a particular Devta therefore appears out of the particular mantra of which that Devta is the Adhishthatri of the Adhishthatri Devta. A mantra is composed of certain letters arranged in definite sequence of sounds, of which the letters are representative signs. To produce the designed effect, mantra must be intoned in the proper way according to swara, rhythm, and varna, sound. Their textual source is to be found in Veda, Purana, and Tantra. The latter is essentially the mantra shastra, and so it is said of the embodied shastra that Tantra, which consists of mantra, is the Paramatma, the Veda are the Jivatma, Darshana, systems of philosophy, are the senses, Puranas are the body, and Smritis are the limbs. Tantra is thus the Shakti of consciousness consisting of mantra. A mantra is not the same thing as prayer or self-dedication, Atma Nivedana. So mantra is not Atma Nivedana. Prayer is conveyed in what words the worshipper chooses and bears its meaning on its face. It is only ignorance of Shastric principles which supposes that mantra is merely the name for the words in which one expresses what one has to say to the divinity. If it were, the sadhaka might choose his own language without recourse to the eternal and determined sounds of Shastra. Now, those people in Bengal, Rohini Dharmapal, who is doing marriages, Vedic marriages in English, she has obviously not read these things. A mantra may or may not convey on its face its meaning. Bija mantras such as Aim, Klim, Reem have no meaning according to the ordinary use of language. The initiate, the dikshit, however, knows that their meaning is the own form, swarupa, of the particular devta whose mantra they are, and that they are the dhvani which makes all letters sound and which exists in all forms which we say or hear. Okay? They are the dhvani which makes all letters sound and which exists in all which we say or hear. Every mantra is then a form, rupa of the Brahman. Though therefore manifesting in the form and sound of the letters of the alphabet, Shastra says that they go to hell who think that the Guru is but a stone and the mantra but letters of the alphabet. From manan or thinking arises the real understanding of the monastic truth, that the substance of the Brahman and the Brahmanda are one and the same. I have to underline this, although it's pretty obvious by now. The substance of the Brahman and the Brahmanda are one and the same. Man of mantra comes from the first syllable of manan, and tra from trana, or liberation from the bondage of the samsara or phenomenal world. By the combination of man and tra, which is called mantra, which calls forth amantrana, invitation, the chaturvarga, or four aims of sentient being. Whilst therefore mere prayer often ends in nothing but physical sound, mantra is a potent compelling force, a word of power, the fruit of which is mantra siddhi, and is thus effective to produce chaturvarga, advaitic perception, and mukti. Thus it is said that siddhi is the certain result of japa. By mantra, the sought for Sandhya devta is attained and compelled. By siddhi in mantra is opened the vision of the three worlds. Though the purpose of worship or puja, patha, reading, hymn, stava, sacrifice, homa, dhyana, dharana, and samadhi, and that of the diksha mantra are the same, yet the latter, that is diksha mantra, is far more powerful, the bija mantra given by the Guru. And this for the reason that in the first, the sadhaka sadhana shakti, this for the reason that in the first meaning, puja, the sadhaka sadhana shakti works in conjunction with mantra shakti, which has the revelation and force of fire, and than which nothing is more powerful. The special mantra which is received at initiation, diksha, is the bija or seed mantra. Oh, nice. I have learned this from Rajarshi Nandi already. Is the bija or seed mantra sown in the field of the sadhaka's heart, and the tantric Sandhya, Nyasa, Puja, and etc. are the stem and branches upon which hymns or praise or stuti, and prayer and homage, vandana, are the leaves and flower, and the kavacha consisting of mantra are the fruit. Mantras are solar and lunar, saura and samya, and are masculine, feminine, or neuter. The solar are masculine and lunar are feminine. The masculine and neuter forms are called mantra. The feminine mantra is known as vidya. Okay. Das Mahavidya. The neuter mantra, such as the Puranic mantra ending with nama, are said to lack the force and vitality of the others. The masculine and feminine mantras end differently. Thus, Hum Phat are masculine terminations and Tvam Swaha are feminine ones. I see. Interesting. This I'll have to mark as important. The Nitya Tantra gives various names to mantra according to the number of their syllables. A one-syllable mantra being called Pinda, a three-syllabled one called Kartari, a mantra with 4 to 9 syllables, Bija, with 10 to 20 syllables mantra, and mantra with more than 20 syllables mala, like Rudra ya mala, I guess. I'm not sure, of course. Commonly, however, the term bija is applied to monosyllabic mantra. The tantric mantras called bija are so named because they are the seed of the fruit, which is siddhi, and because they are very quintessence of mantra. They are short, unetymological vocables such as ring, sring, kring, aim, phat, etc., which will be found throughout the text. Each devta has his bija. The primary mantra of a devta is known as the root mantra or mula mantra. It is said that the word mula denotes the subtle body of the devta called kamakala. The utterance of a mantra without knowledge of its meaning or of the mantra method is a mere movement of the lips and nothing more. The mantra sleeps. There are various processes preliminary to and involved in its right utterance, which processes again consist of mantra, such as for purification of the mouth, mukha shodhana, purification of the tongue, jivha shodhana, and of the mantra, ashaucha bhanga, kulluka, nirvana, setu, nidra bhanga, awakening of the mantra, mantra chaitanya, or giving of life or vitality to the mantra. Okay, there are footnotes for all of these, and we will go through them now. So mukha sodhana is okay. These are citations from where they were found. Okay, mantrartha bhavana, forming of mental image of the divinity. There are also 10 samskaras of the mantra. Dipani is 7 japas of the bija, preceded and followed by ong. Where ring is employed instead of ong, it is prana yoga. Yoni mudra is meditation on the guru in the head and on the ishta devta in the heart, and then on the yoni rupa bhagavati from the head to the muladhara, and from the muladhara to the head, making japa of the yoni bija or eng 10 times. The mantra itself is devta. The worshipper awakens and vitalizes it by chit shakti, putting away all thought of the letter, piercing the 6 chakras and contemplating the spotless one. Again, spotless one, this is mentioned in Kubjika Tantra. Spotless one would probably mean anagha. The Shakti of the mantra is the Vachaka Shakti, or the means by which the Vachya Shakti or object of the mantra is attained. The mantra lives by the energy of the former, meaning the Vachaka Shakti. The mantra lives by the energy of the former. The Saguna Shakti is awakened by sadhana and worshipped, and she it is who opens the portals whereby the Vachya Shakti is reached. Thus, the mother in her Saguna form is the presiding deity, Adhishthatri Devta, of the Gayatri Mantra. As the Nirguna or formless one, she is its Vachya Shakti. Both are in reality one and the same. But the Jiva, by the laws of his nature and his 3 gunas, must first meditate on the gross form, sthula form, before he can realize the subtle or sukshma form, which is his liberator. Exactly what I was talking about while saying that the commentator on Sri Vigyan Bhairav Tantra has mentioned exactly this. This is where Brahmo Samaj gets it wrong. Or spiritual, not religious, those people get it wrong. The mantra of a devta is the devta. The rhythmical vibrations of its sound not merely regulate the unsteady vibrations of the sheaths of the worshipper, thus transforming him, but from it arises the form of the devta which it is. Mantra siddhi is the ability to make a mantra efficacious and to gather its fruit, in which case the mantra is called mantra siddha. Mantras are classified as siddha, sadhya, sushiddha, shusiddha, and ari, according as they are friends, servers, supporters, or destroyers, a matter which is determined for each sadhaka by means of chakra calculations. Now, next subchapter in this chapter of worship begins, called the Gayatri Mantra, before which I'll check some comments once more and have some coffee. This is a long chapter. Okay. Mala probably.
It had only two versions other than southern. Those original ones had no mention of 5 marriages of Draupadi. Also, it had shown Karna's dark side. Bodhi confirmed this. Yeah, Karna is actually supposed to be a villain. And N.P. Bhaduri, Nishinga Prasad Bhaduri says it's equally fruitful to chant mantras in accented Sanskrit. Okay, Nishinga Prasad Bhaduri has dedicated his book to Mamta Banerjee. Bharatiya Sabhyata, every Hindu text has most likely gone through multiple transformations, which has created timeline problems. Yeah, of course. See, one thing you have to realize is, again, I've given a disclaimer that I come up with atheist explanations of everything first, and then get into the value of the philosophic aspect of it, or the mythological aspect of it, or the believing aspect of it as well. But parallelly in my mind, I have an atheist explanation. I notice, I observe that there are atheist explanation of most things Hindus believe in, even in ritualistic form, or recommend as a believer. Most things should be practiced by even atheists if they want good things to happen in their lives. Okay, now even in that sense, what you all were discussing a little before, that Sri Krishna's taking away of clothes and gopis being undressed, etc., and then the philosophical explanation of it. That is exactly what is called apologetics in a religion. Okay, now a distinct, well discussed caste varna system, that your family is good at this, keep doing it forever, because that's how society is being stable. We notice this, observe this, and so keep doing it forever. Or things like apologetics, these come when the society has one long ass lineage. Okay, it's so long and so long that these things have come, and people had the time to evolve up to these things. Okay, these things come when a society, when a particular religion survives for that long. Okay, when some, like that famous Batman quote, that you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. That thing is applicable to different societies and religions as well. When something has lived for so long that they had a varna system. Varna system is a result of a very, very, very long and evolved society. Varna system does not happen one fine morning when that religion is 1000 or 500 years long. Okay, because first people have to observe that who are doing what things are there to do in the first place. Okay, then they are noticing for years that, okay, so families keep on doing this, and then good benefits come out of it, so society runs better for this. Then some people experiment without doing this, and maybe they see outsiders not doing those things, and maybe they see those societies failing, and then they come up with the idea that no, we'll just make a hard and fast rule that this needs to be followed, and they don't even enforce it, because there are always heterodoxies in our societies. It's a gigantic country without any one single religious leader who is going around enforcing these things, so that chaos goes on. But the rules come up in the first place. But for rules to come up, it shows that it's a long ass history. And again, apologetics, that it might have been at some point considered to be just a hilarious thing, that Sri Krishna was running off with clothes. But then very, very early on, so early on meaning early on from today's context, in hindsight, even that explanation, those philosophizations, those apologetics of that action happened so long ago, that tells you that Hinduism understood women's rights much before anyone else. Because when has Christian apologetics come about? Hardly 500 years back. Today Jordan Peterson is the biggest face of Christian apologetics. Apologetics is a new concept in Christianity, brand new concept. Islam's apologetics even haven't begun. They have begun only for English speaking audiences. I have that nice Quran. Our apologetics have also happened 1500 to 2000 years back. That's what you need to observe, and that is why, again, that Jesai Deepak's point, that decoloniality is about knowing what is there in your text in the first place, not rejecting it just because it has the mention of Sri Krishna taking away clothes of gopis and running away. Understand the history of it, and then realize that, okay, if you know all this, if you understand this history, then understand that yes, there may have been an actual celebration of a person who was taking away women's clothes. Maybe it had been hilarious at some point. Different things we considered misogyny today were hilarious even 5 years back. Okay, so let's not assume that it what was misogyny today was misogyny forever and after, or forever in the past. So observe that it was considered misogyny. It was corrected in the form of in the form of philosophization and explanations and apologetics, and then you can decide that no, I still don't want to associate with this evil religion, and then you reject it. If you reject it, no one's coming after your life anyway, because as I've observed that Hinduism is not about convincing you forcefully. It's about instead making a list of do's and don'ts to say that okay, you want to join this tradition, you have to do these things. So appreciate for what it is, know the history in its reality, and then reject it or accept it. But don't read a few quotes here and there and reject it based on that. That's all I'm saying. But observe that apologetics of Hinduism also happened so long back, because someone realized that oh, this seems kind of grey. Why not come up with a beautiful explanation of Sri Krishna taking away clothes of gopis? When did that happen? Very, very early on, or years from today, thousands of years from today. Sanjeev Sanyal did a talk on ancient Indian shipping. I think he was involved in with the making of it as well. He has been very obsessed with stitched ships forever from his land of seven rivers, ocean of churn. That's kind of his. He has popularized this thing that we had stitched ships, because of which we were the masters of seafaring merchants. Because after that, when ship technology improved, we had by then stopped innovation. But when we were the innovators, stitched ships helped you get to beaches where there were no ports even, because they were not completely rigid. They would not break when they hit the beach. They would kind of move and adjust according to the slope and beaches, etc. Let me check some comments now. I know this, that Mahabharat multi-layered text is can be disproved by Bodhi version published by Vivek Debra itself. Sanatan Samiksha had said that at least Gita Press is on neutral stance regarding this. They aren't supporting any specific theory. They are still researching. But I have heard someone say that Gita Press actually whitewashes some of the meat-eating parts, I guess, of some texts. Wait, let me zoom into this monitor a little further. अरे ये वाला zoom in हो गया. Wait, sorry. Okay, yeah. Now let me check some more comments. In Sanatan Samiksha had said that at least Gita Press. Bro, I'll say watch their video. Maybe you're right, but still. Also, I also not even accept the premise that Purans are dated 2nd century to 10th century text, as it will have loopholes like contradictions like Vedangas and Vedas itself. And if you have listened to our Brahmapura live streams, you will notice that there are contradictions. There are seemingly later interpolations. Vivek Debra gives disclaimers that the Puranas available now is not the I will watch that, but my personal observation on Sanatan Samiksha is cherry picking, like starting from Tipitak exposed videos, so that's why they have lost my trust. I have checked other versions which are published by others based on based on other manuscripts like Vivek mentions, which one he has taken. Okay, the other read older chats or else you won't get the context. Well, I don't see how a 10-year-old child running away with some gopis' clothes is misogynistic or even offensive in any way. Come on. That is actually true. I had completely forgotten that he was doing this when he was 10 years old. But if they were considered his gopis, it might have been an older Sri Krishna as well. Now, Gita Press doesn't alter what it borrows from manuscripts. It is the ones who wrote the original manuscripts in North India versus who are non-veg. I see. Because the 10-year-old is also worshipped as God. He didn't grow up and mature to become God. He was always God even in childhood. Right. Let me check some older comments. It should have been explained by some other form of story. Most people, including devotees, take Leelas literally, result in gross misinterpretation and defamation of Hindu. She was wife of all 5 Pandavas. There's this book called Nitya Puja Paddhatis, followed by the regular Purohitas. Rashti, but we worship child Krishna too as God. It's not like he grew into God. With maturity, he was always God. Gopal. Did anyone see Sanatan Samiksha? Does anyone know where to find correct puja vidhi for different gods? Okay, read comments from above instead of below. Told to Dada, not you. Okay. Getting terrified to see so many Hamas sympathizers all around. They are getting space and can they do Khilafat 3.0 on large scale? Yes, Waqf board. Until Waqf board is there, we will always have a threat of civil war or asking for different country, etc. By the way, before Mlech colonization, we had Saka invasion, where men-women ratio of Kalinga changed to 1:12 or 1:20, and barren land being described in Yuga Puran, which is part of Jyotish. Well, Israel always has Samson option. It's the issue here. The problem is the huge blue-collar terrorists. Yeah, fuck them. Who wrote Vigyan Bhairav Tantra? Vigyan Bhairav Tantra is a conversation between Bhairava and Bhairavi. So it's not really written by anyone as such. The commentary is done by and the translation is done, the one I have is done by a female sannyasi, whose name I can't remember. Varna system is super complicated, that's why we simply aren't following it maybe for a few centuries now. Yeah. Bharatiya Sabhyata, well, it's believed, and such narratives are propagated by Israel. Okay. Yeah. Okay, let me continue with this chapter now. The Gayatri Mantra. The Gayatri is the most sacred of all Vedic mantras. In it, the Veda lies embodied as in its seed. It runs Om Bhur Bhuvasvava Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. Om. Let us contemplate the wondrous spirit of the divine creator, Savitra, of the earthly, atmospheric and celestial spheres. May he direct our minds, that is, towards the attainment of Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. Om. The Gayatri Vyakarana of Yogi Yagyavalkya thus explains the following words. Tat, that. The word Yat, which is understood. Savitu is the possessive case of Savitra, derived from the root Su, to bring forth. Savitra is therefore the bringer forth of all that exists. The sun, Surya, is the cause of all that exists, and of that state, and of the state in which they exist, bringing forth and creating all things, it is called Savitra. The Bhavishya Puran says Surya is the visible Devta. He is the eye of the world and the maker of the day. There is no other Devta eternal like unto him. This universe has emanated from and will be again absorbed into him. Time is off and in him. The planets, the Vasus, the Rudras, Vayus, Agni and the rest are but parts of him. By Bharga is meant the Aditya Devta, dwelling in the region of the sun, or Surya Mandala, in all his might and glory. He is to the sun what our spirit, Atma, is to our body. Though he is in the region of the sun in the outer or material sphere, he also dwells in our inner selves. Yes, because we actually have vitamin D3 in our bodies. He is the light of the light in the solar circle and is the light of the lives of all beings. As he is in the outer ether, so also is he in the ethereal region of the heart. In the outer ether, he is Surya, and in the inner ether, he is the wonderful light which is the smokeless fire. In short, that being whom the sadhaka realizes in the region of his heart is the Aditya in the heavenly firmament. The two are one. The word is derived in two ways. One, from the root bridge, that is, means to ripen, mature, destroy, reveal or shine. In this derivation, Surya is he who matures and transforms all things. He himself shines and reveals all things by his light, and it is he who at the final dissolution or pralaya will in his image of destructive fire, Kalagni, destroy all things. From Bha, meaning dividing all things into different classes. Ro, color. Ro meaning color, for he produces the color of all created objects. And Ga, Bharoga, constantly going and returning. The sun divides all things, produces the different colors of all things, and is constantly going and returning. As the Brahman Sarvasya says, the Bharga is the Atma of all that exists, whether moving or motionless, in three lokas, Bhur Bhuva Swaha. There is nothing which exists apart from it. Devasya is the genitive of Deva, agreeing with Savitu. Deva is the radiant and playful Leela Maya one. Surya is in constant play with creation, Srishti, existence, sthiti, and destruction, Pralaya, and by his radiance pleases all. Leela, as applied to the Brahman, is the equivalent of Maya. Varenyam is equal to Varanya or adorable, Borenno. He should be meditated upon and adorned that we may be relieved of the misery of birth and death. Those who fear rebirth, who desire freedom from death and liberation, and who strive to escape the three kinds of pain, tapatraya, which are adhyatmika, adhidaivika, and adhibhautika, meditate upon and adore the Bharga, who, dwelling in the region of the sun, is himself the three regions called Bhurloka, Bhuvarloka, and Svarloka. Dhimahi is equal to Dhyayema. From the root of Dhyai, we meditate upon, or let us meditate upon. Actually, even in Bhagavad Puran, there is apologetics after this text, even in conversation itself. I saw that in Gita Press version itself, right? No, it's not to be approached like that. All deities have their own likes and dislikes, their own personality and temperament. Or a child god, Gopal or Vatuk or anyone else, is not to be approached like you would an adult god. Shiva is different in temperament than Devi. This is the point Rajarshi Nandi keeps on telling. Was Shivling also originally phallic worship for procreation and later philosophized? As you said, Ling ko ling nahi man sakte aap. See, there I agree with Sanjay Dikshit that ling does not even mean a phallus or anything. Ling means form. So if it's Shivling, it means Shiva form. But my atheist explanation says that yeah, it might have been that, because it looks like an erect penis. So again, here Jay's argument also comes into play that even if it is that's the case, why bother? What's the problem with worshipping an erection? That's the source of बच्चे नहीं होंगे तो गुस्सा नहीं होगा, aggression नहीं होगा, testosterone नहीं होगा, तो पूरे दुनिया में कुछ नहीं होगा. So you could argue that the very source of existence is a man's erection, and who is also existence? Bhava, Shiva himself. So why shouldn't, or what's the problem in them considering one and the same? And no matter which came first and later got philosophized, none of these two arguments make Hinduism any less, or Shiva worship any less, or Linga worship any less. Then what's Devilingam then? Later philosophization, according to me, I think, according to my formerly Marxist atheist brain. There's Linga Bhairavi as well. Linga and head in Shiva Puran. Yeah, that's when Linga has completely transformed into considering it as just form and has nothing to do with penises anymore. But at some point, that some point I'm talking about is 10,000 BC, something like that, okay? Maybe before the Ice Age. That's when. Upon right about at 4,000, 5,000 BC, it must have become just form and philosophy and apologetics. Look at the oldest Shiva Linga in Andhra Pradesh. It looks like the sexual organ more than anything. Yes, and Rajarshi Nandi, or there's another person, another sadhak I follow on Facebook called Hali Kalyan, okay? Not Hali Kalyan, Hali Goswami. He's a Purohit. So both of them had shared recently, and they specifically said that I'm not going to mention the place because people will start going to it and it will become a place of controversy. There is still a Linga worship place in Bengal, which is exactly like a erect penis, because it even has the foreskin on top of it, okay? So let's not assume that it had never had anything to do with erections. But Jay's argument is beautiful here, that even if it's erection, so what? And Sanjay Dikshit's argument is a later philosophization that it's now considered a form. And it started being considered a form from about 4,000, 5,000 years back. That child god is pretty much doing non-child stuff like killing demons, freeing spirits. Yeah. Philosophization. Okay. Okay, so Dhimahi we just discussed. Then Prachodayat means may he direct. The Gayatri does not so expressly state, but it is understood that such direction is also the Chaturvarga or fourfold path, which is Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, piety, wealth, desire, and its fulfillment, and liberation. The Bharga is ever directing our inner faculties or Buddhi Vritti along these four paths. The above is the Vedic Gayatri, which, according to the Vedic system, none but the twice born may utter. So, the top three Varnas. The Shudras, whether man or woman, and to women of all other castes, it is forbidden, the Gayatri Mantra, the Vedic Gayatri. The Tantra, which has a Gayatri Mantra of its own, shows no such exclusiveness. This is so weird. Mahanirvana Tantra, chapter 3, verses 109 to 111, gives the Brahma Gayatri for worshippers of the Brahman. Parameshwaraya Vidmahe Paratatvaya Dhimahi Tanno Brahma Prachodayat. May we know the Supreme Lord, let us contemplate the Supreme Essence, and may that Brahman direct us. This has no caste exclusivity. Okay, now yantra. This word in its most general sense means an instrument on that by which anything is accomplished. In worship, it is, see, yantra for instrument, no non-Bengali I think uses it that way today, right? But Bengalis, for any musical instrument or any even technical tools, etc., we still use the word yantra only, jantro. In worship, it is that by which the mind is fixed on its object. A visual cue is required for a beginner. The Yogini Tantra says that the Devi should be worshipped either in pratima, image, mandala, or yantra. At a certain stage of spiritual progress, the sadhaka is qualified to worship yantra. The Siddha Yogi in inward worship or antar puja commences with the worship of yantra, which is the sign or sanketa of Brahma Vijnana, as the mantra is the sanketa of the Devta. It is also said that yantra is so called because it subdues niyantrana, controls, it subdues lust, anger, and the other sins of jiva and the sufferings caused thereby. The yantra is a diagram engraved or drawn on metal, paper, or other substances, which is worshipped in the same manner as an image, pratima. As different mantras are prescribed for different worships, so are different yantras. The yantras are therefore of various designs according to the objects of worship. The one on the next page is a Gayatri yantra belonging to the author. Okay, so this Gayatri yantra belongs to Sir John Woodroffe himself. John Woodroffe. In the center triangle are engraved in the middle the words Sri Sri Gayatri Swa Prasada Siddhim Kuru. Sri Sri Gayatri Devi, grant me success. Kuru. This is also like Bengali, that Swa Prasad Siddhi Karo. And at each inner corner there are the bijas, ring, and rah. In the spaces formed by the intersections of the outer ovoid circles is the bija ring. The outside circular band contains the bija tha, which indicates swaha, commonly employed to terminate the feminine mantra or vidya. The 8 lotus petals which spring from the band are inscribed with the bija ring, ing, ra. The outermost band contains all the matrikas or letters of the alphabet from akara to ksha. The whole is enclosed in the way common to all yantras by a bhupura, by which, as it were, the yantra is enclosed from the outer world. Okay, so the square enclosing it, not the square, this part. The yantra, when inscribed with mantra, serves, so far as these are concerned, the purpose of a mnemonic chart of that mantra appropriate to the particular devta whose presence is to be invoked into the yantra. Certain preliminaries precede, as in the case of a pratima, the worship of a yantra. The worshipper first meditates upon the devta and then arouses him or her in himself. He then communicates the divine presence thus aroused to the yantra. When the devta has by the appropriate mantra been invoked into the yantra, the vital airs or prana of the devta are infused therein by the prana pratishtha ceremony, mantra, and mudra. The devta is thereby installed in the yantra, which is no longer mere gross matter veiling the spirit which has been always there, but instinct with its aroused presence, with the sadhaka first welcomes, which the sadhaka first welcomes and then worships. Mantra in itself is devta, and yantra is mantra, in that meaning it is the body of the devta who is the mantra. Now, next subchapter begins Mudra. The story of Vishwamitra who received the Gayatri Mantra is epic. Have you read his story, his Harishchandra and wife? It's too much. But his bhava, state of mind functioning, is of a child even when killing demons. For a deity, nothing limits them. So being a child doesn't mean they have limitations of a child. It's the Shishu bhava we are talking about, and that too more towards his followers or bhaktas. Vishwamitra is my favorite Rishi Vyagra, tiger among rishis. Yeah, that's why we keep reading about it in Brahma Puran that way. Markandeya Puran, you will know why like the story related to Raja Harishchandra. Okay. Now Mudra. The term Mudra is derived from the root mud, to please, and its upasana form is so called because it gives pleasure to the devas. Devanam modada mudra tasmattam yatna tascharet. It is said that there are 108, of which 55 are commonly used. The term means ritual gestures made with hands in worship or positions of the body in yoga practice. Thus, of the first class, the Matsya fish mudra is formed in offering arghya by placing the right hand on the back of the left and extending fish-like on each side of the two thumbs, with the object that the conch, which contains water, may be regarded as an ocean with aquatic animals, and the yoni mudra, which presents that organ as a triangle formed by thumbs, the first two fingers and the two little fingers, is shown with the object of invoking the Devi to come and take her place before the worshipper, the yoni being considered to be her pitha or yantra, and Dutate of all people actually knows this. He of course couldn't remember exactly what it is called or what's the significance, but he says that when I always think like this with my hands like this, it has to do with some Hindu yogi practices. The upasana mudra is thus nothing but the outward expression of inner resolve, which it at the same time intensifies. Mudras are employed in worship or archana, japa, dhyana, kamya karma, rites done to affect particular objects, pratishtha, snana, bathing, avahana, welcoming, naivedya, offering of food, and visarjana, or dismissal of the devta. Some mudras of hatha yoga are described sub-walk, or described later than yoga, described as yoga. The Gheranda Samhita says that knowledge of the yoga mudras grants all siddhis, and that their performance produces physical benefits such as stability, firmness, and cure of disease. Now Sandhya. The Vediki Sandhya is the rite performed by the twice-born castes thrice a day at morning, midday, and evening. The morning Sandhya is preceded by the following acts. On awakening, a mantra is said in invocation of the Trimurti and the sun, moon, and planets, and salutation is made to the Guru. The Hindu Dvija then recites the mantra, I am a Deva, I am indeed the sorrowless Brahman. By nature I am eternally free, and in the form of existence, intelligence, and bliss. Satchitananda, I guess. He then offers the actions of the day to the deity, confesses his inherent frailty, and prays that he may do right. Then leaving his bed and touching the earth with his right foot, the Dvija says, Om, O earth, salutations to thee, the Guru of all that is good. After attending to natural calls, the twice-born does Achman, sipping of water with mantra, cleanses his teeth, and takes his early morning bath to the accompaniment of mantra. He then puts his caste mark or tilaka and makes tarpanam or oblation of water to the Deva, Rishi, and Pitra. The Sandhya follows, which consists of Achman, sipping of water, Marjana Snanam, sprinkling of the whole body with water taken with the hand or kusha grass, Pranayama, regulation of prana through its manifestation in breath, Aghamarshana, I've never heard this word. expulsion of the person of sin from the body, the prayer to the sun, and then the canon of the Sandhya, the silent recitation or Japa of the Gayatri Mantra, which consists of invocation or avahana of the Gayatri Devi, Rishinyasa and Sadanganyasa, meditation on the Devi Gayatri in the morning as Brahmani, at midday as Vaishnavi, and in the evening as Rudrani, Japa of the Gayatri as a specified, okay, I guess specified it's a spelling mistake. Japa of the Gayatri as specified number of a specified number of times, dismissal or visarjana of the Devi followed by other mantras. Besides the Brahminical Vedika Samdhya from which the Shudras are debarred, there is the Tantrika Samdhya which may be performed by all. The general outline is similar, the rite is simpler, the mantras vary, and the Tantrika Bijas or seed mantras are employed. Bija mantras. Now Puja. The word is common term for worship of which there are numerous synonyms in the Sanskrit language. Puja is done daily of the Ishta Devta or the particular deity worshipped by the sadhaka, the Devi in the case of a Shakta, Vishnu in the case of a Vaishnava, and so forth. And though the Ishta Devta is the principal object of worship, yet in Puja all worship the Panchadevta or the five Devas, Aditya, the sun, Ganesha, the Devi, Shiva, and Vishnu or Narayana. After worship of the Panchadevta, the family deity Kula Devta, who is generally the same as the Ishta Devta, is worshipped. Puja, which is kamya or done to gain a particular end, as also vrata, are preceded by the sankalpa, that is a statement of the resolution to do the worship, as also of the particular object, if any, with which it is done. There are 16 upacharas or things done or used in puja: asana, seat of the image; swagata, welcome; padya, water for washing the feet; arghya, offering of unboiled rice, flour, sandal paste, durva grass, etc. to the devta in the kushi or vessel; and achmana, water for sipping, which is offered twice; madhuparlya, ghee, milk and curd offered in a silver or brass vessel; snana, water for bathing; vasana, cloth; vasana or vasan, yeah, boshon, vasan; abharana, jewels; gandha, scent and sandal paste is given; pushpa, flowers; dhupa, incense stick, all Bengali words; deepa, light; naivedya, food; vandana or namaskara, prayer. Other articles are used which vary with the puja, such as tulsi leaf in the Vishnu puja and bale or bilva leaf in the Shiva puja. The mantras said also vary according to the mantras said also vary according to the worship. The seat or asana of the worshipper is purified. Salutation being made to the Shakti of support or the sustaining force, Adhara Shakti. The water, flowers, etc. are purified. All obstructive spirits are driven away. Bhuta Pasarpana. And the 10 quarters are fenced from their attack by striking the earth three times with the left foot, uttering the Astrabija Phat, and by snapping the fingers twice round the head. Pranayama, okay, I guess that's how the colloquial Bengali word pot has come, which means that just fuck off. Pranayama regulation of breath is performed and the elements of the body are purified. Bhuta Shuddhi. There is Nyasa, Dhyana, offering of the Upachara, Japa, prayer and obeisance, Pranama. In the Ashtamurti Puja of Shiva, the Deva is worshipped under the 8 forms: Sarva, earth; Bhava, water; Rudra, fire; Ugra, air; Bhima, ether; Pashupati, Yajamana, the sacrifice man, or Yagyamaya; Ishana, sun; and Mahadeva, moon. Now Yagya. This word, which comes from the root yaj or to worship, is commonly translated as sacrifice. The Sanskrit word is however retained in the translation, since Yagya means other things also than those which come within the meaning of the word sacrifice, as understood by an English reader. Thus, the 5 great sacrifices or Panchamaha Yagya should be performed daily by the Brahmana are the Homa sacrifice, including Vaishvadeva offering, Bhata Yajiya or Bali, in which offerings are made to Deva, Bhuta, and other spirits and to animals. Pitra Yagya or Tarpana, oblations to the Pitra. Brahma Yagya or study of the Vedas, and Manushya Yagya or entertainment of guests. Atithi Saparya. Atithi Saparya. Or no, Saparya. By these 5 yagyas, the worshipper places himself in right relations with all beings, affirming such relations between Deva, Pitri, spirits, men, the organic creation, and himself. Horna or Deva Yagya is the making of offerings to fire, which is the carrier thereof to the Deva. A fire pit or kunda is prepared, and fire, when brought from the house of a Brahmana, is consecrated with mantra. The fire is made conscious with the mantra Vam Vanni Chaitanyaya Nama, and then saluted and named. Meditation is then made on the 3 nadis, Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna, and on Agni, the Lord of Fire. Offerings are made to the Ishtadevta in the fire. After the puja of fire, salutation is given as in Sadhanga Nyasa, and then clarified butter or ghee is poured with a wooden spoon into the fire with mantra, commencing with Om and ending with Swaha. Homa is of various kinds, several of which are referred to in the text, and is performed either daily, as in the case of the ordinary Nitya Vaishvadeva Homa, or on special occasions such as the Upanayana or sacred thread ceremony, marriage, vrata, and the like. It is of various kinds such as Prayakitta Homa, Srishtikrit Homa, Janu Homa, Dhara Homa, and others, some of which will be found in the Principles of Tantra. I guess he was saying that I'm writing a different book as well in more detail. Besides the Yagya mentioned, there are others. Manu speaks of 4 kinds: Deva, Bhauta, Nryagya, and Pitra Yagya. So Bhauta is where articles and ingredients are employed, as in the case of Homa, Daiva, Bali, etc. Others are spoken of, such as Japa Yagya, Dhyana Yagya, etc. Yagyas are also classified according to the dispositions and intentions of the worshippers into Satvika, Rajasika, and Tamasika Yagya. Now Vrata. Vrata is a part of Naimittika or voluntary karma. It is that which is the cause of virtue or punya and is done to achieve its fruit. Vratas are of various kinds. Some of the chief are Janmashtami on Krishna's birthday, Shivaratri in honor of Shiva, and the Satpanchami, Durvashtami, Talanavmi, and Ananta Chaturdasi, performed at specified times in honor of Lakshmi, Narayana, and Ananta. Others may be performed at any time, such as Savitri Vrata by women only, and Kartikeya Puja by men only. Mahasena. The great Vrata is the celebrated Durga Puja, Mahavrata, in honor of the Devi as Durga, which will continue as long as the sun and moon endure, and which, if once commenced, must always be continued. There are numerous other Vratas which have developed to a great extent in Bengal and for which there is no Shastric authority, such as Madhu Sankranti Vrata, Jala Sankranti Vrata, and others. While each Vrata has its peculiarities, certain features are common to Vratas of different kinds. There is both in preparation and performance samyama, such as sexual continence, eating of particular food such as Havishyanna, fasting, bathing, no flesh or fish is taken, the mind is concentrated to its purposes, and the vow or resolution, niyama, is taken. And as someone who does intermittent fasting, and if you read any study on fasting, the first and foremost thing you will be told is that it increases concentration. And all our greatest sculptures and temples, especially things like the what's the cave temple in Maharashtra? Ade, naam bhul gaya. Ajanta Ellora caves. All those were made while the people were fasting. Fasting state increases concentration. The mind is concentrated to its purposes, and the vow or resolution, niyama, is taken. Before the vrata, the sun, planets, and the Kula Devata are worshipped, and by the Surya Samoyamakala mantra, all devas and beings are invoked to the side of the worshipper. In the Vedika Vrata, the Sankalpa is made in the morning and the Vrata is done before midday. Now, Tapas. This term is generally translated as meaning penance or austerities. It includes these, such as the 4 monthly fasts or Chaturmasya, the sitting between 5 fires, Panchagni Tapa, and etc. It has, however, also a wider meaning, and in this wider sense is of 3 kinds, namely Sharira or bodily, Vachika wise speech, and Manasa in mind. Manasa in mind. The first includes external worship, reverence, and support given to the Guru, Brahmanas, and the wise or Pragya, bodily cleanliness, continence, simplicity of life, and avoidance of hurt to any being, ahimsa. The second form includes truth, good, gentle, and affectionate speech and the study of the Vedas. Second, this is the Vachika one. The third or mental tapas includes self restraint, purity of disposition, silence, tranquility, and again silence. Each of these classes has 3 subdivisions. For tapas may be sattvika, rajasika, and tamasika, according as it is done with faith and without regard to its fruit, without regard for the phal, or for its fruit, or is done or for the phal, or is done through pride and to gain honor and respect, or lastly, which is done ignorantly or with a view to injure and destroy others, such as the sadhana or of the tantrika satkarma when performed for a malevolent purpose, or abhichara. Now, japa. Japa is defined as vidhanema mantrocharanam, or the repeated utterance or recitation of mantra according to certain rules. It is according to the Tantra Shastra of 3 kinds. It is according to the Tantra Sara of 3 kinds. Vachika or verbal japa, in which the mantra is audibly recited, the 50 matrikas being sounded nasally with bindu. Upamsu japa, which is superior to the last kind and in which the tongue and lips are moved but no sound, or only a slight whisper is heard. And lastly, the highest form, which is called manas japa, or mental utterance. In this, there is neither sound nor movement of the external organs, but a repetition in the mind, which is fixed on the meaning of the mantra. One reason given for the differing values attributed to the several forms is that where there is audible utterance, the mind thinks of the words and the process of correct utterance, and is therefore to a greater, as in the case of Vachika Japa, or to a less degree, as in the case of Upamsyu Japa, to a lesser or greater degree, distracted from a fixed attention to the meaning of the mantra, because then you are focusing on the how to pronounce it best, etc. The japas of different kinds have also the relative values attachable to thought and its materialization in sound and word. Certain conditions are prescribed as those under which japa should be done, relating to physical cleanliness, the dressing of the hair and wearing of silk garments, the seat or asana, the avoidance of certain conditions of mind and actions, and the nature of the recitation. The japa is useless unless done a specific number of times, of which 108 is esteemed to be excellent. The counting is done either by a mala or rosary, mala japa, or with the thumb of the right hand upon the joints of the fingers of that hand, kara japa. The method of the counting in the latter case may differ according to the mantra. Now, samskara. There are 10, or in the case of Shudras, 9 purificatory ceremonies or sacraments called samskaras, which are done to aid and purify the jiva in the important events of his life. There are Jivasheka, also called Garbhadhana Ritu Samskara, performed after menstruation, with the object of ensuring and sanctifying conception. The Garbhadhana. The Garbhadhana ceremony takes place in the daytime on the 5th day and qualifies for the real Garbhadhana at night, that is, the placing of the seed in the womb. It is proceeded on the first day by Ritu Samskara, which is mentioned in chapter 9 of Mahanirvana Tantra. After conception and during pregnancy, the Pumsavana and Simantonnayana rites are performed. The first upon the wife perceiving the signs of conception, and the second during 4th, 6th, or 8th month of pregnancy. In the antenatal life, there are 3 main stages, whether viewed from the objective physical standpoint or from the subjective superphysical standpoint. The first period includes on the physical side all the structural and physiological changes which occur in the fertilized ovum from the moment of fertilization until the period when the embryonic body, by the formation of trunk, limbs, and organs, is fit for the entrance of the individualized life or jivatma. When the pronuclear activity and differentiation are completed, the jivatma, whose connection with the pronuclei initiated the pronuclear or formative activity, enters the miniature human form, and the second stage of growth and development begins. The second stage is the fixing of the connection between the jiva and the body, or the rendering of the latter viable. This period includes all the anatomical and physiological modifications by which the embryonic body becomes a viable fetus. With the attainment of viability, the stay of the jiva has been assured. Physical life is possible for the child, and the third stage in antenatal life is entered. Thus, on the form side, if the language of comparative embryology is used, the first samskara denotes the impulse to development from the quote unquote fertilization of the ovum to the critical period. The second samskara denotes the impulse to development from the critical period to that of the quote unquote viability stage of the fetus. And the third samskara denotes the development from viability to full term. On the birth of the child, there is the jatakarma or jatakarma performed for the continued life of the newborn child. Then follows the namakarana or naming ceremony and nishkramana in the 4th month of after delivery, when the child is taken out of doors for the first time and shown the sun, the vivifying source of life, the material embodiment of the divine Savita. Nishkramana. Between the 5th and 8th month after rebirth, the Annaprasana ceremony is observed, when rice is put in the child's mouth for the first time. Then follows the Chudakarana or tonsure ceremony. And in the case of the first 3 or twice born classes, Upanayana or investiture with the sacred thread. Herein the jiva is reborn into spiritual life. There is lastly, herein the jiva is reborn into spiritual life. There is lastly Uddhava or marriage. Udvaha, not Uddhava. Udvaha. There is lastly Udvaha or marriage, whereby the unperfected jiva ensures through offspring that continued human life which is the condition of its progress and ultimate return to its divine source. These are all described in the 9th chapter of this Tantra. There are also 10 samskaras of the mantra. The samskaras are intended to be performed at certain stages in the development of the human body, with the view to effect results beneficial to the human organism. Medical science of today seeks to reach the methods of modern Western science. Medical science of today seeks to reach the same results, but uses for this purpose the physical methods of modern Western science suited to an age of materiality. Whereas in the samskaras, the superphysical or psychic or occult or metaphysical and subjective methods of ancient Eastern science are employed. The sacraments of the Catholic Church and others of its ceremonies, some of which have now fallen into disuse, are Western examples of the same psychic method. Now, Purashcharana. This form of sadhana consists in the repetition after certain preparations and under certain conditions of a mantra a large number of times. The ritual deals with the time and place of performance, the measurements and decorations of the mandapa or pandal and of the altar and similar matters. There are certain rules as to food both prior to and during its performance. The sadhaka should eat havishyana, or alternatively boiled milk, khira or kshira, fruits or Indian vegetables, or anything obtained by begging, and avoid all food calculated to influence the passions. Certain conditions and practices are enjoined for the destruction of sin, such as continence, that is abstinence from sex, bathing, japa of the Savitri mantra 5008, 3008 or 1008 times, the entertainment of brahmanas and so forth. 3 days before puja there is worship of Ganesha and Kshetrapala, lord of the place. Panchagavya or the 5 products of the cow are eaten. The sun, moon and devas are invoked. Then follows the sankalpa. The ghata or kalasha or jar is then placed into which the Devi is to be invoked. A mandala or figure of a particular design is marked on the ground, and on it the ghata is placed. Then the 5 or 9 gems are placed on the kalasha, which is painted with red and covered with leaves. The ritual then prescribes for the tying of the crown lock, shikha, the posture asana of the sadhaka, japa, nyasa, and the mantra ritual or process. There is meditation as directed. Kulluka is said and the mantra awakened, mantra chaitanya, and recited the number of times for which the vow has been taken. Now Bhuta Shuddhi. The object of this ritual, which is described in Mahanirvana Tantra chapter 5 verses 93, is the purification of the elements of which the body is composed. The mantra Mahodadhi speaks of it as a rite, R-I-T-E, rite, which is preliminary to the worship of a deva. The process of evolution from the Parabrahman has been described. By this ritual, a mental process of involution takes place whereby the body is in thought resolved into the source from whence it has come. Earth is associated with the sense of smell, water is associated with taste, fire is associated with sight, air is associated with touch, and ether is associated with sound. Kundalini is roused and led to the Svadhisthana chakra. The earth element is dissolved by that of water, as water is dissolved by fire, fire is dissolved by air, and air is dissolved by ether. This is absorbed by a higher emanation, and that by a higher, and so on, until the source of all is reached. Having dissolved each gross element, Mahabhuta, together with the subtle element, Tanmatra, from which it proceeds, and the connected organ of sense, Indriya, by another, the worshipper absorbs the last element, ether, with the Tanmatra sound into selfhood, Ahamkara, the latter into Mahat, and that again into Prakriti, thus retracing the steps of evolution. Then, in accordance with the monistic teaching of the Vedanta, Prakriti is herself thought of as the Brahman, of which she is the energy, and with which therefore she is already one. Thinking then of the black Purusha, which is the image of all sin, the body is purified by mantra, accompanied by Kumbhaka and Rechaka, and the sadhaka meditates upon the new celestial Deva body, which has thus been made, and which is then strengthened by a celestial gaze. Now, Nyasa. This word, which comes from the root to place, quote unquote to place, means placing the tips of the fingers and palm of the right hand on various parts of the body, accompanied by particular mantras. The Nyasas are of various kinds. Jiva Nyasa follows upon Bhuta Shuddhi. After the purification of the old and the formation of the celestial body, the sadhaka proceeds by Jiva Nyasa to infuse the body with the life of the Devi. Placing his hand on his heart, he says Soham mantra, I am he, thereby identifying himself with the Devi. Then, placing the 8 Kula Kundalinis in their several places, he says the following mantras: Aim, Kreem, Kleem, Yam, Ram, Lam, Vam, Sam, Sham, Sam, Hom, Hom, Hamsa. The vital airs of the highly blessed and auspicious primordial Kalika are here. Aim, etc., the embodied spirit of the highly blessed and auspicious Kalika, is placed here. Aim, etc., here are all the senses of the highly auspicious and blessed Kalika. And lastly, aim, etc., may the speech, mind, sight, hearing, smell, and vital airs of the highly blessed and auspicious Kalika come here, always abide here in peace and happiness. Swaha. That mantra is translated in English. The sadhaka then becomes Devatamaya. After having thus dissolved the sinful body, made a new Deva body, and infused it with the life of the Devi, he proceeds to Matrikanyasa. Matrikanyasa. Matrika are the 50 letters of the Sanskrit alphabet, for as from a mother comes birth, so from Matrika or sound the word proceeds. Shabda Brahman, the sound, logos or word, is the creator of the worlds of name and form. The bodies of the Devta are composed of the 50 Matrikas. The sadhaka therefore first sets mentally Antarmatrika Nyasa in their several places in the 6 chakras, and then externally by physical action Bahya Matrika Nyasa, the letters of the alphabet which form the different parts of the body of the Devta, which is thus built up in the sadhaka himself. He places his hand on the different parts of his body, uttering distinctly at the same time the appropriate matrika for that part. Yeah, Nina is very right here. For parts like this, one must read the same thing several times because just one reading feels incomplete. Every concept is so minutely explained here. Yeah, that's why. This is why I'm treating this book as a just a rough skimming through of the gist of Tantra. The so imagine when I buy the principles of Tantra, which y'all can donate to. Uh, uh, so when we read that, which we will definitely read someday from my live stream, when we have a rough understanding like this from this book, it's going to be so much easier to understand it from that book, which is going to go into more depth and detail, which is a 2-volume book. The volume 1 is about 500 pages hardly. It costs 1800 rupees. Shabda Brahman, the sound, logos or word, is the creator of the worlds of name and form. The bodies of the Devta are composed of the 50 matrikas. The sadhaka therefore first sets mentally antarmatrika nyasa in their several places in the 6 chakras, and then externally by physical action bahya matrika nyasa, the letters of the alphabet which form the different parts of the body of the Devta, which is thus built up in the sadhaka himself. He places his hand on different parts of his body, uttering distinctly at the same time the appropriate matrika for that part. The mental disposition in the chakras is as follows. In the Yagya lotus, hum, ksham, each letter in this and the succeeding cases is said, followed by the mantra nama. In the Vishuddha lotus, am, and the rest of the vowels. In the Anahata lotus, Anahata chakra, kam, hum to thum. In the Manipura chakra, dam, dham, etc. to pham. In the Swadhisthana chakra, bam, bham to lam. And lastly, in the Mooladhara chakra, vam, sham, sam, sham. The external disposition then follows. The vowels in their order with Anuswara and Visarga are placed on the forehead, face, right and left eye, right and left ear, right and left nostril, right and left cheek, upper and lower lip, upper and lower teeth, head, hollow of the mouth. The consonants come to vam, kang to vang, are placed on the base of the right arm and the elbow, wrist, base and tips of fingers, left arm, right and left leg, right and left side, back, navel, belly, heart, right and left shoulder, space between the shoulders, kakura, and then from the heart to the right palm, sham is placed, and from the heart to the left palm, the second sam, from the heart to the right foot, sam, not sam, from the heart to the left foot, hum, and lastly from the heart to the belly and from the heart to the mouth, ksham. In each case, Om is said at the beginning and Nama at the end. According to the Tantra Sastra, according to the Tantra Sara, Matrika Nyasa is also classified into 4 kinds, performed with different aims, vis-a-vis Kevala, where the Matrika is pronounced without Bindu, Bindu Samyuta with Bindu, Samsarga with Visarga, and Shobhya with Visarga and Bindu. Rishi Nyasa then follows for the attainment of the Chaturvarga. The assignment of the mantra is to the head, mouth, heart, anus, the 2 feet, and all the body generally. The mantras commonly employed are, quote, in the head, salutation to the Rishi, revealer Brahma, Rishi Brahma. In the mouth, salutation to the mantra Gayatri. In the heart, salutation to the Devi Mother Saraswati. In the hidden part, salutation to the Bija. The consonants, salutation to the Shakti. The vowels in the feet, salutation to the Visarga. The Kilaka in the whole body, end quote. Another form in which the bija is employed is that of the adya. It is referred to but not given in chapter 5 verse 123 and is, quote, in the head, salutation to Brahma and Brahmarshis. In the mouth, salutation to Gayatri and other forms of verse. In the heart, salutation to the primordial Devata Kali. In the hidden part, salutation to the bija, cream. In the 2 feet, salutation to the Shakti, Reem. In all the body, salutation to the Kalika, stream. Then follows Anganyasa and Karanyasa. these are both forms of Sadanga Nyasas. When Sadanga Nyasa is performed on the body, it is called Hridayadi Sadanga Nyasa. And when done with the 5 fingers and palms of the hands only, Angushtadi Sadanga Nyasa. The short vowel a, the consonants of the ka varga group, and the long vowel a are recited with Hridayaya Nama. Okay, Hridayaya Nama. Salutations to the heart. The short vowel e, the consonants of the cha varga group, and the long vowel e are said with Sirasi Swaha. Swaha to the head. Sir. The hard ta varga consonants set between the 2 vowels u and u are recited with Shikhai Vasat. Sikhayai Vasat. Vashat to the crown lock. So, Shikha. Similarly, the soft ta varga with soft ta varga. Okay. So, this was the hard ta varga, meaning ta. So, Shikhai Vasat or Vashat. Shikhai Vashat. And now soft ta varga between the vowels e and I. E and I are said with Kavachya Hum. The short vowel o, the pa varga, and the long vowel o are recited with Netra Trayaya Vausat. Vausat to the 3 eyes. Okay, Vaushat. Netra Trayaya Vaushat. Lastly, between Bindu and Visarga, the consonants ya to ksha with Karatala Kara, Prishtha Bhyam, Ashtraya Phat. Phat to the front and back of the palm. The mantras of Sadanga Nyasa on the body are used for Karanyasa, in which they are assigned to the thumbs, the threatening or index fingers, the middle fingers, the 4th little fingers, and the front and back of the palm. These actions on the body, fingers, and palms also stimulate the nerve centers and nerves therein. In Pitha Nyasa, the pithas are established in place of the matrika. The pithas in their ordinary sense are Kamarupa, and the other places, a list of which is given in the Yogini Hridaya. For the attainment of that state in which the sadhaka feels that the bhava or nature disposition of the devta has come upon him, Nyasa is a great auxiliary. It is, as it were, the wearing of jewels on different parts of the body. The bija of the devata are the jewels which the sadhaka places on the different parts of his body. By Nyasa, he places Abhishta devata in such parts, and by Vyapaka Nyasa, he spreads its presence throughout himself. He becomes permeated by it, losing himself in the divine self. Nyasa is also of use in effecting the proper distribution of the Shaktis of the human frame in their proper positions, so as to avoid the production of discord and distraction in worship. Nyasa as well as asana are necessary for the production of the desired state of mind and of Chitta Shuddhi, its purification. Transformation of thought is transformation of being. This is the essential principle and rational basis of all this and similar tantric sadhanas. Now, Panchatattva. How long is this chapter? Wow, it's pretty long. 12 more pages. No, let's start from this place next day then. This is a huge chapter. We are still in the worship chapter. Not many pages left in the book though. How many pages? 153 total. We are in 113 page. So just 40 pages to go. We will finish it in the next day. Nice. We finished a long portion. Pran jai par vachan na jai. His buddhi is not limited by childhood, therefore he must know what's right and wrong. No way Vastraharan is right. I am Krishna Bhakta, but I don't accept this Leela as real. Yeah, of course it was not meant to be justified, which is why they came up with a philosophization. If they did not come up with a philosophization and just said, yeah, he did Vastraharan and that was such a great thing, then you would have to question it and consider it problematic. But the very fact that they thought that it should be philosophized and apologized for, that shows that they were also not cool with it. Yeah. Shubharatri, guys. Thanks for joining the live stream. This was great. Good night.